Hello, everyone. I'm the person who made the page. Okay, so we have a Michael Jordan fan who wants to go on. He's from YouTube. He goes by the YouTube username of Miniature Car Racing. He has Michael Jordan as a top 3 or top 5 NBA player of all time, and he would like to explain why Michael Jordan is a top 3 or top 5 NBA player of all time. So let me put him on. Hey, welcome to the program.
Oh man, I'm excited, brother. Thanks for having me on, brother. Big fan of the show.
Hey, thank you for being on, and you're very welcome, and thank you for liking the show. Okay, so you have Michael Jordan as a top 3 or top 5 NBA player of all time. Please feel free to explain if you like.
For sure, brother. For sure, brother. Now, my top 5 is a little different. You know, I go with Magic as the GOAT, Larry Bird number 2, and then that's where I come with Michael Jordan. I kind of debate now and then, depending on how the wind blows, with between Jordan and Isaiah Thomas. Because, you know, it's one thing to have an opinion, but these guys actually played, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, for me, Jordan fans overhype him, but I think you underhype him too. So I'm just here to, you know, set the record straight as to where things, I believe, are based off of how you play the game and circumstances and situations.
Okay, so you brought up a lot here, so let's go through one at a time. So first I want to point out, when you have Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, and Isaiah Thomas, notice a pattern there. You got guys from a certain time frame.
Okay.
That shows me that either you have you don't have certain, you haven't educated yourself on certain NBA players, or you have a bias for certain players. I'd also like to point out, when you say I undervalue him or something like that, no, not at all. I think you're overrating him.
Okay, so I'm overrating Jordan at okay. This is going to be fun. I'm overrating Jordan at 3 or 4. Okay, interesting. Usually I don't get that type of feedback, but that's what I'm saying. I do, even giving him the hard time that I do. You're giving him 10 times the hard time that I do, and Jordan was an all-time great as far as. Okay, so what you're saying is that I am hooked on an era, right? I'm hooked on my era, as in what most kids are, right?
One possible
but
reason.
Is it possible, though, that something hit a peak as far as skills, as far as intelligence? You know, things do hit a peak in life, right? If you're in the stock market, you don't always beat your record high. At some point in time, sometimes you do hit a peak, and possibly that era was the peak of basketball skills, right? Because now you're looking at a league where how many kids are coming in and they're not ready for the league, right?
Okay, so
the league is really watered down.
There's a lot to unpack here. So let me just get through this, and I want you to follow up, please, of course. So again, I'm not undervaluing him. You're overrating him. I know you believe he should be ranked very high. I get that, and we'll get into that. But just because you believe he should be ranked very high, you're automatically going to assume that if I don't rank him high, I'm undervaluing him. But it's actually the other way around. I'm not undervaluing him. You're overrating him, and you can explain why you think he should be ranked high. And also, to the point you were saying about peaks, yeah, things reach their peak. That doesn't mean Michael Jordan should be ranked so high. And again, if you want to go by peaks, there's so many players out there. You can make the same argument for lots of other players. Hey, you know, you're undervaluing this guy or these guys, or hey, they reached their peaks too. And at the end of the day, I don't think it's a coincidence, man, that the guys you picked all played around the same time, which I assume is your favorite time. And also, I forgot to mention one more thing. You mentioned
iron sharpens iron.
And one more thing you forgot to mention. You mentioned about how, I'm not trying to quote your exact words. I don't have the exact words, but you said something like, the time they played in was basically the best. No, it was not. But Michael Jordan fans believe that that was the best time when it comes to the NBA.
And so what about that era, 80s, 90s, wasn't the best as far as skill level, basketball IQ, right? Because the history of the game is most players win the championship around 27, right?
I don't know if that's true.
All the great players, except for when you look at players like Magic and Bird, who came in the league and dominated since day one, which is why I put them higher, because you're not going to see a kid come in the league and tell all the grown men to sit down and go sit in the corner.
I'm pretty sure most Hall of Famers dominate pretty fast.
No, but they took over the league.
No,
Not just had a great season, not just put their team on the map. They literally took over.
No, they did not literally take over. In fact, they didn't win the MVP award every year. They didn't win all the awards. They didn't get all the statistics. But a lot of the way the media paints this is that it was basically Magic Johnson and Larry Bird saving the league. And many of you Michael Jordan fans just accepted all that.
Well, it is what it is, man. When Magic goes to 9 finals in 12 years, pretty much 8 in the 80s, right? I mean, what would you want me to say? It took LeBron 15 years to get to 9 finals.
Michael Jordan brought up LeBron James.
It took LeBron 15 years to do what Magic did in about a decade.
But when you say Magic Johnson did these things and it took LeBron James time to do these things, you do understand one guy doesn't win and lose.
Of course not. It's a team game. And like with Larry Bird turned the Celtics around, right?
No.
Worst to first.
No. It's like you said, it's a team game. He's not turning
it is around. A team game.
It's a team game.
Well, obviously you have to have a catalyst, right? Jordan turned the Bulls around. Well, I would say Phil Jackson.
No, Michael Jordan didn't turn the Bulls around. In fact, when he came in, they lost many times. In fact, you guys, I'm not saying you literally, but many of you Michael Jordan fans are always telling people he didn't have enough All-Stars, he didn't have enough Hall of Famers, he didn't have enough help and all that. So obviously, he's not turning things around. But if you're going to say to me, look,
you're good.
If you have to say to me, there's a catalyst. You were saying that? There's way more catalysts who lost than won. Every year, there can only be one team that wins. So that means you're going to have more losers.
Yes. So I'm curious as to 5 players that you have above Jordan.
If I give you players, or if I don't have players, it won't change anything. Because remember, you're claiming Michael Jordan is top 3 or top 5. So I would, it'd be up to you to prove that he's top 3 or top 5.
Well, okay. So his competition. So once again, what I'm saying is that he accomplished things that, okay. So what Magic accomplished first was he was the first player to win a back-to-back. Something that hadn't been done in over 20 years almost, right?
Well, no, you said first player, but then you said 20 years. So is it first player or 20 years?
Hold on. The game kept evolving, right? So the reason why we don't talk about Bill Russell, even though he has 7 rings straight, the reason why we don't talk about him is because the game was, 10 teams, right? It was a small game, different league. So the game kept getting bigger, right?
Nothing you said.
And then you had the ABA.
No, nothing you said.
So why don't we talk about Bill Russell?
Okay, no, well, it's not that we don't. It's, I mean this nicely. It's you Michael Jordan fans who discredit him and discredit the time he played in. No one else does that. I've never heard any other sport where any group of fans goes in baseball or soccer or volleyball or whatever, where they go, we're not going to count these guys. It's only Michael Jordan fans who do that.
Well, because you're talking about the level of competition, right? And that's why when you say the 80s going into the 90s was some of the best era, right? It's because of there was more teams, right? The game had evolved. The game was, 3-point lines. The game was pretty much what it is today. It was actually, slammed. We were there. The game had evolved. Slam dunking wasn't just a rare thing. It was, we there now. It's a game.
None of these things are true. But I'll put it to you like this, man. Let's say you're right. Let's just say you're right, just to make it simple. I could show you lots of reasons why you're wrong, but to make it simple, let's say you're right and the game was not as good and the competition was not as good and whatever, they weren't as skilled and all that. By your logic, I'm going by your logic now, today's NBA is better than when Michael Jordan was in the NBA.
No, How is that?
Because if you're going to talk about game evolving and less teams and better competition and all that, there's more teams now than when Michael Jordan played. Evolution doesn't stop. It keeps going. Competition gets better and so on. So by your logic,
Well,
today's
hold
NBA is
on.
better than when Michael Jordan was in the
I would
NBA.
love to address that. I would love to address that. Now, once again, we're talking about an era now where what type of evolution or de-evolution is going on in the game of basketball right now.
That's not evolution. Evolution doesn't go in that way.
Well, I don't know right now because, okay, so we're definitely talking about the evolution of the game is should I say softer game, a more offensive friendly game,
You know who agrees with you,
offensive friendly game?
You know who agrees with you, by the way?
Who?
Only Michael Jordan fans. I've never heard.
Come on, man. I'm only just speaking the facts of the game right now.
It's not facts.
The facts of the game isn't as physical as what it once
I want
was.
you to think about every person in the media who says that. They're all Michael Jordan fans. I've never heard.
I'm not a Jordan fan, but I can give him his respect.
But what I'm
As
saying-
far as
but what I
as
mean-
far as offense, defense, the ability to take that shot.
Well, you could do
Like,
that
see,
with
a lot of these players today get lost, right? Like, what playoff series was I watching this year? And you could see Miami didn't know what to do. When it was crunch time, they didn't know what to do.
Well, but let me-
Michael Jordan, those Bulls, they were a well-oiled
There's
machine,
a lot of things-
and they knew what to do.
There's a lot of things to address here. So when you say offense, defense, clutch shot, you could say that for a million Hall of Famers who are good on offense, good on defense, and can make clutch shots. You could say that about players today. But even if I'm wrong, let's say I'm wrong, and Michael Jordan did these things better than most players, that still doesn't mean that he played in the best NBA time and today's NBA's time is soft. And back to the soft thing, when people say today's NBA is soft,
Offensive friendly.
they play defense too. But if I'm wrong, if today's NBA is mostly offensive friendly and they don't play good defense and they're not as physical and all that, I got a question, man. How come the only people who ever say these things are Michael Jordan fans?
As a historian of the game, someone who's been watching for long enough to see the change, right? You have to be watching to see it, right? It's not that you're hooked, just as a fan of the game, you could just comment on what you're seeing.
But my
You can comment on what you're seeing.
But my question is still there. If you're right, let's say you're right, man. Let's say today's game is just offensive friendly, not as good.
How
defense,
many
not as
young
physical.
players come in also? How many young players come in who aren't mentally ready to play the game, but they are, one day going to be possibly a great player. So now you have a larger pool of unskilled players that you're playing against.
You're saying these things, but there's no proof of any of this.
If they're not going to college, right? They're not getting any kind of grown man strength to them, right? These are little kids.
Do you want me to name you players who didn't go through college back in the day and weren't ready right away and didn't dominate right away and all that? In fact, according to you, I'm going by what you told me. You said to me that players don't usually win a ring until they're like 27 on average.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't have it both ways, if you say, look, today they ain't ready, and back in the day you're implying that they're ready, and then you say, well, the average age was
Prime.
when they won a
Prime
ring.
is about 27.
Okay, and when you say average age prime is 27, that's a contradiction right there.
Well, but here's what I'm trying to say, though, is that if you're coming into the league at 22 versus 17, 18, right? You're 22 years old. You're just a little more older, a little more mature, right? You're a little stronger, a little bigger, right? Just a little bit more, possibly,
Maybe.
right? It's because you've been going through college, so you've been running plays. You just have more practice. You're just more skilled at what you do, potentially. Potentially. But, because of raw talent, the NBA is saying, give me this raw talent right now. But at the end of the day, he's still getting pushed out to the three-point line.
Yeah, man, they may actually make more two-pointers than three-pointers today.
What did you just say?
They actually make more two-pointers than three-pointers. And they actually do, by the way, they also play defense. It's actually still very physical and all that. Again, my question is there, man. Let's say you're right. I'm open-minded. Let's say you're right and it's offensive friendly and they don't play as good defense and it's not as physical and all that. How come when I listen to Hall of Famers, when I listen to general NBA, people in ownership, people who are general managers, and all these people, the only time I find anyone basically questioning today's NBA and elevating the 1980s and 1990s are usually Michael Jordan fans. Like, you don't see the pattern there?
Well, you're talking about a person who has to defend a product where they're making money today. So of course they're going to say today was better than yesterday.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, that's a really good point. But that's actually helping my argument. It's only Michael Jordan fans, because most fans.
No. I'm a historian of the game right now, big dog. This is West Coasting. Everybody know West Coasting. I tell it real. I tell it real. If you want to name a player who you believe deserves more recognition, I would love to hear some names, and I'll give you, where guys belong. But for me, it's how you play the game, right? There's a lot of things.
We'll get into that. But to your point about how they're doing this because they got to sell the game, I'm with you on that. They do got to sell the game. But if you're agreeing with me, and I agree with you, then you got to explain a couple of things. Two things logically. One, how come, if they're all doing it to sell the game, do any of them believe it, or are they all just doing it to sell the game? And two, what about the people who are not selling the game? There must be a million people on YouTube, or who have a podcast, or who write, newspaper articles or whatever, and they're doing the same shtick where they go, the 1980s and 1990s is the best, and today's NBA sucks. They're mostly people who pick Michael Jordan. They're mostly Michael Jordan fans.
Well, hold on. Definitely, for sure, Michael Jordan has cornered the market as far as, now to me, like I said, I have Magic, right? Unfortunately, he didn't get to play out the rest of his career. Otherwise, I think things would have been a little different. I believe, to me, what happened was, it wasn't until Jordan got that sixth ring when he officially passed Magic.
You know who agrees with you?
Nobody.
Only Michael Jordan fans. I've never heard anyone else say that.
Well, I don't think he passed. I don't understand how you don't think he's that great as far as a player who. Now, I'm not the biggest fan. I'm a Magic man. Magic to go.
I understand.
Magic's to go.
I understand.
But respect due. I remember one time watching an old video, man. Because, you don't realize at the time, right? And you go back and watch an old Bulls video, you're like, yo, this dude is moving so fast. His hands, the defense he was playing, I was like, good Lord, he looked like Neo out there.
But don't you acknowledge that part of the reason you're so into him, I don't know your age, you don't have to tell me, but I'm assuming that's the time
you've seen it.
That's what you experienced. So
you've seen greatness.
If LeBron James,
you've experienced greatness.
If a LeBron James fan told you, you know what, man, I'm watching these LeBron James highlights and I see how he's so quick and I see the greatness.
But I've seen the same highlights too, though.
Right. So then you have to ask yourself, if two people watch the same highlights and they have the same passion and they have the same conclusions and all that, but there's one difference. The guy who picks Michael Jordan, that's his time that he likes, and the guy who picks LeBron James, that's his time
but you cannot just say that's the time that I like. Is it possible that just as a fan of the game, you just see something, right? Now, for the kid who wasn't there and is just looking at the highlights, they'll never get it. Right? But if you were there and you understood the pressure that was going on and you seen it live and you seen whatever happening and you seen him come through, like, you at some point in time you do respect. And then but as a person who's seen it, you're seeing the next generation come up too. Now, it doesn't mean that you just call them like you see it.
But then hold on. But then you got to explain a couple of things. Let's say, remember, I'm open-minded to you, right? Let's say you're right. Let's say you're right. You got to explain a couple of things here. One, how come all the people who are the same age as you or older than you, why don't they all agree with you if it was so obvious? And two, why don't you look at the pattern that the guy who's so into Michael Jordan and the guy who's so into LeBron James and the guy who's into the 1980s and 1990s and the guy who's into today's NBA just so happens to be, from that time?
Put it like this. In 10 years from now, right, when Devin Booker and Phoenix win like 3 rings, right, 4 rings, and kids are saying, who just started watching the game, and they start saying Devin Booker's better than LeBron, you're going to be there to correct them.
But so number.
Because you see,
Go ahead.
because you've seen Devin Booker. Because you've seen Devin Booker and LeBron play for so long that even though they just seen Devin Booker run off three, he done scored 80 points. He's scored 102 points a game. Oh my God, Devin Booker broke the record, right? There's no way you're gonna let someone get away with saying that he's better than LeBron.
Okay, before I address it, I just want to point out something. You don't even have to go 10 years. You know why? Because there are kids alive today who pick Michael Jordan. The majority of NBA fans, whether they're 20, 30, 40, or whatever, they all pick Michael Jordan. So I have no reason to think in 10 years it's going to change. And second thing I want you to consider, 10 years ago, they were saying the same thing. They were saying 10 years ago, or when Michael Jordan retired, you know what? I don't think it's going to be like this forever. Obviously, things don't last. It's going to change. 20 years from now, when Michael Jordan is forgotten and kids are coming up and they don't know Michael Jordan, they
Man, he
Michael
put it
Jordan.
down.
But you know what?
He put it down.
But 2023, and the majority of NBA fans pick Michael Jordan.
People already forgot how great Magic was. When he retired, he was probably going to go down as the GOAT, right? What do you think about that?
I think he has, if you're going to rank someone as the number one NBA player of all time, I think he has a better case than Michael Jordan.
Okay, I respect that. Thank you. Now,
Thank you.
but what I'm saying is, when he retired, the moment he retired, right, with those 5 rings, he was probably going down as the GOAT. We don't even talk about him anymore. But but if you were alive in that moment in time, that was the king of basketball. And just that quick, before he even sat down, Michael Jordan ran on 6, and people forgot about him. So that's why I say I'm here to set the record straight as far as, I don't give Jordan the credit. What he didn't surpass Magic to me. He had Phil Jackson. He had a lot of great things, which is what you need to win. You do need these things, pieces. He had great pieces, but he was a piece to the puzzle.
So was he
just like anybody else?
So 3 things to go over here. 1, you're right. A lot of people don't pick Magic Johnson. You're right. But who is the media made up of mostly? Michael Jordan fans. Who do most NBA fans pick? Michael Jordan. So
he was the man. He was the man. He was the man.
He wasn't the man over everybody else, or in your position, top 3 or top 5. Now, before you respond, remember, I just want to address some of the things you said. So when you say we forget these things, it's Michael Jordan fans who are in the control. They're the ones who are basically, most people in the media are Michael Jordan fans. Most NBA fans
they are. Well,
so
I'll tell you what, no one wants to speak against the king. No one's going to talk against the king, right?
I don't mind doing it.
And he said, you having fun. And every now and then I open my big mouth. And here I go.
But
here I go.
To your other point about rings, rings, there's a lot of problems with rings, but just to save time, because I want to make sure you have a chance to follow up. If you're going to say Michael Jordan is better partly because he has 1 more ring than Magic Johnson, then by your logic, any player who has 1 more ring than someone else is better. And that's not going to work.
No. Obviously, we don't put Ori in the conversation. It's we are splitting hairs. This is all respect to anyone whose name was mentioned, even in a joke right now. Because we're splitting hairs. We're splitting frog hair right now. We are splitting frog hair. These guys were all greats and legends. It's just how you did it. And no. So with that being said, if someone gave Jordan the edge over Magic, based off of, he was playing offense, he was playing defense, he took the shot, he was like Babe Ruth to basketball. He did the sexy thing.
No.
He did the sexy thing. He hit the home run, right? He slammed dunk. Magic did assists. It was dope when he was doing it. Bird was shooting, right? Bird was doing everything, right? Stealing the ball, shooting the ball, doing whatever he had to do to win the game, right? Magic, he'd find any player on the court to win the game, even if it was himself, right? That was the thing, right? Magic could shoot, could do whatever, but he just didn't feel the need to hog the offense.
Let me ask you a question. So it seems like, actually, before I ask you the question, I want to confirm something. I don't want to have any, I don't want to assume things. It seems like you're the kind of guy who would say, look, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird bring more to the table than Michael Jordan, so therefore they're better than Michael Jordan?
for me, they were possibly able to do more with less. Now, hear me out. Larry Bird, right? Who did he have when he won? He had Robert Parrish, who was considered a bust, almost like Kwame Brown, right? Robert Parrish was a bust and got traded to the Celtics.
No, he wasn't a bust, man. No, he was good, man.
He was good?
Yeah, no, before he got to the Celtics, he was good.
I don't believe so. I believe that's why he got traded, is because he wasn't any good.
No, people get traded all the time.
The Celtics, well, yeah, true that. The Celtics seen something, right? Red Auerbach seen something, but I believe that the team that he left wasn't happy with him. We'll just say that.
Oh, okay.
Bust is a strong word.
Yeah, that I don't know. So
then he had Mikal, a rookie. He had Danny Ainge, a rookie, right? Those are excuses why Jordan fans say why Jordan didn't win. He didn't have nobody. Whereas Bird made it happen with those guys.
Michael Jordan did have help, by the way. When they say he didn't have help, they're wrong.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can probably explain that a little better than me.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, I thought you were not.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So, every year is not the same, right? It's a different roster every year. So one of the mistakes they make is they lump all the years together as if it was the same team every year. You got different years. So it just depends what year you're going by. But to give you an example, they'll say like in his first few years, he didn't have a good score. And that's factually not true. Orlando Woolridge scored 20 plus points a game. He had a score. And it's not like he had no other help. It just depends on the year. I'll give you a great example. They had a center who statistically you can say wasn't like Hakeem Olajuwon and all that. Bill Cartwright. You know the guy, Bill Cartwright. Bill Cartwright used to be an all-star. But see, when he gets to the Bulls, his numbers are different, but he's still that same player. Now you can say, well, look, just because he used to be an all-star doesn't mean he's an all-star anymore. Okay, I'm down with that. So if that's the logic, then you got to apply the same logic to the Lakers and Celtics and the 76ers and everybody else who has a stacked team. Because, for example, Magic Johnson had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, as you know, wasn't the same Kareem Abdul-Jabbar every year. 1989, if he's playing like 14 minutes a game and scoring like, 11 points a game, he's still great. But he's not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar like when he was 28 years old. So a lot of Michael Jordan fans, what they do is they lump everything together and they go, oh, they all had a super teams, and I guess Michael Jordan was the only guy who never had any help. Doesn't make any sense.
And that's why I do disagree with putting him at the GOAT spot, but I still put him high based off of his, he trained under the best. He had to beat the Pistons. He had to beat the Lakers. He had to beat the Celtics. Him and his team. But the way that he did it, right? The three-headed monster of, if you were teaching your kid how to play the game, right? You would either teach him to be like Magic, right? Pass the ball, get your teammates involved, right? Or you try to teach him to be like Bird, right? Be a dope shooter, right? Still get your teammates involved, right? Be a hustle man, dive on the ball, right? Or you teach them to be like Jordan, just the ultimate killer assassin, right?
Michael Jordan is not the ultimate killer.
Ultimate on defense.
No, that's not true. No. How many Hall of Famers can you name that you don't think that you couldn't give that label, ultimate killer, ultimate assassin, ultimate on defense? How many Hall of Famers could you name that don't deserve those labels? Like, in other words, what I'm asking you is, if you give it to Michael Jordan, how many Hall of Famers could you be like, oh, they don't deserve those labels?
At some point in time, yes, guys might have been very good. They might have been very good. And, for sure, they did their thing. They were dope, right? But Michael Jordan, like I said, he was Babe Ruth. He did the slam dunk in the game pretty. It was a total package. It's
Dominic
a total
package.
Now that was my guy. That's my guy. My guy is Dominique. There you go. That's my guy, Dominique. But as far as, Jordan teams just got further and just accomplished more. And so, at the end of the day...
But hang on, though. Michael Jordan, as you know, didn't win until 1991. So how come he was elevated so much when he was not winning? If you're going to say, look, his teams won, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. His teams won. That helps. But when he didn't win, they were still propping him up. You know why he got more popular? It wasn't just because of dunking, because Dominique Wilkins could dunk. It's because the NBA, Nike, other parts of the media and so on, they were pushing him.
I'm not disagreeing, but they picked the right one to push, boy. I'll tell you that, boy. There's definitely something special about that boy.
I don't know if Dominique Wilkins was not the right one to push.
For sure, we know who won that slam dunk contest. To this day, we know who won that slam dunk contest. But
Dr. J, could you push Dr. J? Could you push Magic Johnson? There's a bunch of people you could. That's the right one to push.
Well, but you can't go with Dr. J. Dr. J was on his way, but Magic and Bird put him in check. Magic won 2 rings in the NBA before Dr. J won 1.
And nobody puts Dr. J in check, man. Come on.
Bird, look, Dr. J got his. Dr. J got his, and thank God Dr. J got his ring, because if he didn't get that ring, Dr. J wouldn't get talked about. So thank God the basketball guys came down.
No, I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong or right. I just don't know if that's true, because lots of people get rings and they don't get talked about, and lots of people don't get rings and they get talked about.
Patrick Ewing was a dominant player and doesn't get talked about. If the Bulls didn't win all of them rings, like the Knicks would have got a couple. They would have got 1. 2.
There was a guy who didn't win rings, and he got talked about a lot. You might have heard of him. His name is Michael Jordan.
No. Hold on. Once again, they seen that boy coming. That boy was doing the sexy thing, man. He was dunking on fools, head ball. And come on, man. When that man flies through the air, man, he float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Lots of people float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, dunk, and all that. Why did they?
But he took the pressure. He took the pressure and came through. Right? James Harden hasn't been able to do that.
No, Michael Jordan missed lots of clutch shots too.
No, yes, for sure. But at the end of the day, he still. I put it like this: my Lakers against those Bulls, game 1. Bulls up 2, 30 seconds to go, and they got the ball.
Right.
2 possession game, 2-1.
Right.
What happens? Michael Jordan comes down, break. Lakers get the rebound,
Sam Perkins.
give the ball to Magic. Magic whip that over to Perk Dog. Perk bang the 3. Now we up 1.
Right.
Now, boom, Jordan gets the ball again, double break. Right? Double break, lose the game. And what Phil Jackson learned from that game was, Mike, get off Magic. Yo, Scotty, get off. Get off of Magic. Get away.
That's not exactly true. I see a lot of Michael Jordan fans making this argument that Michael Jordan guarded Magic Johnson, but then they put Scottie Pippen on him, and then that's when that's when things started to change. That's actually not exactly true, because
the Lakers did also lose 2 starters in the finals. Like when Cleveland lost 2 starters in the finals of Golden State.
That's right, they had injuries. But what I was going to say was, I made a video where I got pretty much every time that Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen guarded Magic Johnson. Well, not literally every play, because there's some you're going to commercial break or they don't show it on camera. But I got most of them. And in that series, man.
Really?
Yeah, in that series.
Oh, man, I missed that one.
No, it's okay. The video is on is on this page where I'm putting this video. In that series, the guy who guarded Magic Johnson for most of the series was Michael Jordan.
Well, in my memory of it, I would have thought that they were doing a lot of double and triple teams, especially as the Lakers were getting injured. So, but I believe Magic set the record for assists, though, dropping 20 dimes a game, right? Because he was just dropping lasers, you know what I mean? He was the only one out there just
Right, in that series, they didn't stop Magic Johnson. Nobody in general stops Magic Johnson.
He just didn't have nobody left, you know what I mean? But look, no Kareem, no Pat Riley. He's back in the finals. New roster practically. Couple vets still, but he's back in the finals. No excuses, right? Whereas with Jordan fans, there's always an excuse as to why he didn't win.
Right. You recognize how Michael Jordan fans are sometimes, obviously.
Oh yeah. Don't get me wrong.
So why go to their party, man? Why not stay away from them?
They running the show right now, man. They running the show, man. They got this on lock, man. Six is better than 5, man. And what else can we say?
But you also do that too, right? You also say Michael Jordan became better than Magic Johnson partly because he had one more ring.
The media was able to give him the crown at that point in time. Not me. The media.
No, but I'm saying
gave him the crown.
You agree with them, right? You have that take too, right?
No, I can't. But based off of how he played the game and his level of execution and excellence and commitment to the game, if that's someone's take, he's respectable. That's someone I could at least let it. I'm like, all right, I get it. Certain guys, I can't let it slide.
Why accept it? Why never? You should never use rings to rank players ever, because one guy don't win by himself.
No, not at all. But once again, the same way I look at Magic and Bird as guys who, the ship sets the sails with them. You know what I mean? And for sure, Jordan, obviously, no. Well, really, and that's really a misstatement. I am always hyping him right now because for me, definitely, it would be Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson said that because anytime Jordan didn't have Phil, then it wasn't a pretty story. We know about the years before Phil in Chicago, and we heard Gil tell stories, the horror stories of what it was like for Washington trying to get from under Jordan. So it ain't my opinion. That's just, it is what it is.
Yeah. Most of the media, they go by rings. They anointed Michael Jordan as the greatest partly because of 6 rings. I never accepted any of that garbage. There's a lot of problems with going by rings and a lot of contradictions. If you want, I could explain some. But at the end of the day, rings should never be used to rank players. It's like somebody saying, Babe Ruth is better than Hank Aaron because he has more World Series. I don't know if he does or not. I'm just making up an example. It's a team game. One guy doesn't win and lose by himself. But if they're going to put it on Michael Jordan, then for winning, then they should put it on him for losing because he lost more time. And he lost more times than he won.
Didn't make the finals, and Magic was always in the finals.
That's right.
Magic was always in the finals. It don't matter what's going on, Jack.
That's right. So do you still want to make the claim that Michael Jordan is top 3 or top 5 of all time?
Oh yeah, you got to give that man some respect, brother. I mean, once again, the level of defense and offense. Great players shoot at a 50% clip.
Okay, then there's lots of players who are great on offense, great on defense, and shoot 50% or more.
And win games too.
And they can win games too.
I mean, you got to tell me. You just throwing it in the air, like possibly. But Jordan, we know was.
I'll give you some names. But before I do, I just want to point out, and I'm going to give you names. Don't worry, I'm not going to avoid it. But I just want to point out. Remember, if you make the claim that he's top 3, top 5 all time because of these kind of things, it'd be up to you to prove it, not me to prove to someone else. And
correct.
And also, you haven't proven it, but I know you still stick to him being top 3 or top 5 all time. So there's a question there. And then also, just by common sense, because if you're someone who you were saying you study the game, you watch the game, you know the game and all that. I don't have your exact words. You were saying things like that. I would think you would know, man. There's lots of players who dominate on offense, dominate on defense, and shoot 50% or more.
Well, you could say Shaq did that.
There you go. That's one right there.
But stop. He wasn't Michael Jordan.
No, he was better.
No.
Yeah.
Shaq got swept every year of his career.
No, he didn't.
Until Phil Jackson came and made that man a champion.
He never got swept one time.
Stop it.
No, he never got swept.
Hakeem swept him. Hakeem swept him.
Hakeem never swept him. Never happened.
Hakeem didn't sweep Orlando.
Nope. Well, no. Well, you said Shaq, but no. Hakeem never swept Orlando. Nope. Never happened.
Houston swept Shaq's team.
Oh, so I think you don't know why I'm saying
Shaq's teams were swept.
There you go.
Every year.
That's right. But that's not Shaq's fault necessarily.
It is Shaq's fault.
Then that's the kind of thing that makes you a Michael Jordan fan. It ain't a guy who wins and loses.
Well, because it's about the right decisions you make, and at the end of the day, sometimes you just miss the shot, right? So if you always miss the shot, right? Patrick Ewing used to always miss that game-winning shot, right?
But that's not always his fault. There could be a million things that happen in a basketball game.
For sure.
But let's say you're right. I'm going to make it easy. Let's say you're right, and it all comes down to the last shot.
Well, so that means it's up to the coach to put you in the right position.
Or that's one thing. Let's say there's no issues with who you're playing against, what the injury injuries are, who the coach is, nothing matters. It just comes down to you, and it's all on you, the player. The player. By your logic, Michael Jordan can't be that good in the clutch situation because he missed lots of clutch shots.
We could say that, but at the end of the day, in those finals, he hit that shot.
And so many other players.
That's the one.
Lots of other players are clutch players.
No, name them.
Okay,
Like, name them, not a lot. Not a lot.
I'm going to name a guy that I'm pretty sure you know, and you're probably going to smile when I bring him up. But he ain't a Hall of Famer. There's a guy by the name of Nick Van Exel.
Stop it. Come on, man.
Oh, I was wrong.
Really?
You don't know how good he was then. I thought you would know.
No. Nick is dope. Nick is dope.
You know how many clutch shots he made? For sure. Nick is my guy. You already know. Stop it. You already know. Nick is my guy. So how come you're questioning how good he was on the clutch when it comes to clutch shooting?
Well, because at the end of the day, Nick is my guy, but we won when we got rid of Nick.
They could have, but Del Harris said that he's convinced they could have won if they kept the team together. And I mean, they were that good, man. They could have won. They could have.
Oof. I mean, well, hold on. Maybe they could have kept Nick, but Shaq wasn't going to keep Eddie Jones.
I don't know if that's true or not. But at the end of the day, when you have Nick Van Exel, Eddie Jones, Eldon Campbell, a bunch of guys. That's not a bad team. Yeah. Man. That's a good team.
It was a really good team. I believe, once again, Shaq got rid of Eddie Jones. And then when he went to Miami, same thing. He got there, looked in that locker room, said, y'all need to get rid of Eddie Jones. And then he went on and won his ring.
At the end of the day, it's a team thing. But
you have to have the right dogs in position. You got to have the others, right?
You got to have the right team. But do you think Nick Van Exel wasn't that good of a clutch shooter? Because he really was, man. Playoffs.
No. Nick's the man. But if you talk about Michael Jordan, a guy who was playing offense and defense, locking his man down.
No, he didn't lock people down like that. That's not true.
You were not looking forward to a night of Jordan guarding.
And you're not looking forward to a bunch of people guarding you. Remember, I'm not
for sure.
Yeah, Michael Jordan, obviously, this is no doubt. He can score. He can play defense. You can give him the ball in the clutch situation. All that. I'm not saying you're wrong on any of those things. What I'm saying is you're elevating him way too high. And the second thing I'm saying is if you think you're right, that, hey, he was that good on offense and he was that good on defense and he was that good in clutch shooting and all that should put him high, by your logic, other players are just as good as him or better than him because they can score, they can play defense, and they can make clutch shots.
Okay, so was Nick Van Exel, our guy, was he as good on defense as Michael Jordan?
Okay, so before I get to that, remember, I was just bringing up the clutch shooting. I wasn't trying to say that.
Okay, and that's what I'm saying. You got to bring up 10 guys to compete with Jordan. This guy played defense as good as Jordan. This guy played offense as good as Jordan.
I was trying to show you that when you were saying Michael Jordan did all these things, I was trying to show you that I could find people who are non-Hall of Famers that can do one or two or three things. I showed you Nick Van Exel because I thought, you might know him well. And
I love Nick.
And he can make clutch shots. Now, defense.
Come on, man. Nick's my guy, man. I ain't going to say nothing about Nick. Come on, cut it out.
It seemed like I was elevating him higher than you were.
Nick's my dude, man.
But to answer your question, can he play defense as good as Michael Jordan? So I'm going to assume because Michael was taller and stronger that he would be tougher to score against. But having said that, in basketball, it's harder to measure defense. Because you can get no steals, no blocks, never get a turnover for your opponent, and play good defense, and so on. So let's say someone's guarding somebody, and they get no steals, no blocks. The guy they're guarding never turns over the ball, and all that, but they can still be a good defender. So it's tough to measure.
He said, Dale Dellavedova out there.
Okay. But now, if you're talking about, look, I still don't think Michael Jordan is lower than Nick Van Exel. Okay, fine. But there are other players that are just as good as Michael Jordan or higher than him.
Like T-Mac, let's say, right? You take a great player like T-Mac. At some point in time, the fact that he didn't come out the first round is part of that. Is a part of the reason why he's not going to go as high.
But to who? That's in the minds of people who go by as if one guy wins and loses, which is usually Michael Jordan fans.
His teams never got out the first round.
Is that his fault?
Yeah.
How do you figure?
Come on, man. He was up 3-0, man.
No,
Blowing
his
leads.
team was.
His team was up 3-0. So put it like this. When you say James Harden, right?
Mm-hmm.
James Harden comes up really small in a lot of games.
And so did Michael Jordan.
No, not in a lot of games.
You could
Not in a lot of games. James Harden is coming up with single-digit games. Michael Jordan, he may have shot.
But to be fair,
he may have shot 7 for 21.
No, but to be fair to James Harden, well,
he still had 20-something points, though.
No, to be fair to James Harden, every year he's not always the main go-to guy. To be fair to him,
it's his team.
Not every year.
Well, for a long stretch of time, where Jordan kind of ruined the game is that they look at the Bulls and they see that Jordan did it, and so they think that, oh, you just give the ball to your superstar and he's supposed to bring you home, not realizing that Phil was pulling those strings. So now they expect these superstars today, and now that's too much pressure because
that's right.
It's really the coach.
And you know who puts that pressure on them? It's usually Michael Jordan.
It's Jordan. It's the Jordan fans. It's the Jordan fans, for sure. They have ruined the game. For sure. Even Scottie Pippen's coming out talking against it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Scottie Pippen should be given lots of awards for his takes, man. This man is a smart guy. He knows what's up, man. But back to James Harden thing, man. My point is not to say James Harden is better than him and all that. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense to put it on a guy to win and lose. And also, if you're right, if you're saying James Harden had bad scoring games and all that, Michael Jordan did too. But if you say, well, he didn't have as many. Well, I mean, if you go on Google right now and type in Michael Jordan had bad games, I don't know what the definition of a lot is or many, but you can find lots of examples where Michael Jordan either had bad games or they weren't bad, but they weren't as good as he usually does.
For sure. Jordan was a Chuck, man. He was the old 7 for 21. You know what I'm saying? But they love him. That's their guy. Don't get me wrong. He was still a killer, though. I still got to respect it.
Does it make any difference, the squad and coaching that he has? What if other players who had bad games and or maybe didn't do as well as they usually did, what if they had his situation? Don't you think that they would have a better chance to do as well as Michael Jordan or maybe better?
So put it like this, right? If you put Michael Jordan on those Celtics and you put Larry Bird on those Bulls, right, the Celtics wouldn't win.
Okay.
Whereas the Bulls would have did way better.
Now, that's a good point. Now, let me flip it on you. If you take Michael Jordan off and you replace him with Jerry West or Clyde Drexler or Kobe Bryant or someone like that, there's no reason to think they couldn't win as much as Michael Jordan or more than Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm. There's a few guys. Jerry West was a stud. Jerry, we could definitely put Jerry. We need to put him up on there for sure. He that's the man.
Are you sure? Because you kind of questioned the NBA when Bill Russell was there and all that. It sounded like you didn't really think too highly of them. So are you sure you're going to put Jerry West?
No. Jerry was a man. Was a stud, man. There are definitely guys that are studs, but when we have to do a whole composite of their whole career at the end of the day, because we got to split hairs, so we got to look at everything, and you got to take everything into account.
Okay.
So rings aren't everything, but they are a part of it.
Why?
Because at the end of the day, it's about getting over the hump. That's what made Magic that great. Is that Kareem, as long as he was in there, he wasn't getting to the finals.
Okay, so
he was playing a long time.
I would agree with you to look at everything. I don't think you have to split hairs, but when you say, look, rings are part of it, the question becomes why? And are you saying Kareem wouldn't have won without Magic Johnson?
He won one time.
Yeah, I mean, and Magic Johnson never won without Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
But in 2 years without Kareem, he was already in the finals one time.
And remember, I'm not saying that I'm agreeing.
Kareem had like 11 years to play without Magic, and went to the finals one time.
But just to let you know here, I'm not saying that you're right or wrong if you say, look, Magic Johnson needed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or he didn't need Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or if you're saying Kareem Abdul-Jabbar needed Magic Johnson or he didn't need Magic Johnson. I'm not making any of these points. I'm just saying if you're going to say that this guy needs this guy or this guy can't win with this guy or this guy didn't win with this guy or whatever, things like that, you got to be consistent if you want to be fair. Like, if you want to be fair, you got to be
isn't getting to the finals without Scotty.
Okay. So then what's the point of going by rings?
Magic is getting to the finals without Kareem.
Right. He got somebody else.
And that's the point. And that's why I put him higher.
Kareem didn't do it for so many times for who knows, there could be a number of reasons. At the end of the day, it's a team game.
It is a team game, but at the end of the day, there's the guy. Like, okay, the Philadelphia 76ers, right?
Okay.
AI.
All right.
If AI don't bring it home, that team was built around AI. They don't have not one other dude on that team to score.
But just because a team
was built around AI. So if AI don't bring it home, they're not going to win.
Okay, but teams are built around lots of guys, and as we talked about earlier, every year you can only have one team that wins. So remember,
Denver did a great job.
Most of the main guys are gonna lose. So by your logic, they can't be that good because they lose. But you can only have one winner. So the question becomes, how do you know who's the best by a team that wins? It's a team game. Just because a team wins doesn't mean their main guy is better than everyone else.
Well, when the Lakers had Magic, they were in the finals every year. When he left, they stopped making the playoffs for a little stretch. Then they had Shaq and Kobe, and they struggled in the beginning. Then they got Phil. You can see what happens when a player leaves. The Bulls lost Michael Jordan. They haven't been back to anything.
And when Michael Jordan left to go play baseball, I think they only won 2 less games.
Exactly. You're good, brother. You're good, brother. They still won 50 games. And if you win 50 games, that means you're a good team.
So obviously, do you still want to put it on the guy? Like you're not saying Michael Jordan just makes a team 2 wins better, are you?
Well, there's still a difference between winning and losing. At the end of the day, we play to win the game.
So what would happen if they had Michael Jordan? What would happen if they had him? We don't know, right? But we know when he came back, what happened? They lost. And we know other years they lost when they had him.
Okay, but they had Phil Jackson this time. Things are different with Phil.
And they still lost.
The greatest coach of all time.
They still lost.
In fairness, he only played 19 games. His legs wasn't all the way back out there.
The rusty argument.
Hey, look! I gotta get. You got me sound like a Jordan fan. What's going on here? What's going on, man? But the boy is nice, though. He is.
I don't think
nice.
I don't think you're 100% like all Michael Jordan fans. Obviously, you got some disagreements with him, but at the end of the day, man, a lot of your takes are right in line with Michael Jordan fans. Actually, most of your takes are right in line with Michael Jordan fans. So I would label you as a Michael Jordan fan based on what you tell people.
Wow, really?
Well,
That's what we're doing.
Well, no, I didn't mean it negatively. I mean, you know what? To be fair, if that came off as negative, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it negative though. How about this? Instead of me saying I would label you as a Michael Jordan fan, how about this? Based on all your takes you've given so far, most of your takes are in line with Michael Jordan fans, so it's not unreasonable to go, that's a Michael Jordan fan.
90% right. They 90% right. That boy was nice.
Michael Jordan fans are 90% right?
Yeah, he just wasn't better than Magic and Bird.
They're not 90% right, man. No, they're not even close to that.
I mean, like, even as great as Shaq was, it's on his shoulders, those teams that were losing squarely.
Okay, so was it on Michael Jordan's shoulders when they lost?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Michael Jordan lost more times than he won. So let me ask you a question now. If he's that good, which we agree he's good, but if he's that good, and he won, and you go, look, he was the catalyst, he won, and the same Michael Jordan, he's the same player now, and they lose, what's the difference?
I'll tell you why. So I mentioned earlier how Magic did the first thing, right? He was the first one to run a 4-minute mile, right? He won a back-to-back, right? Then Isaiah did it. Then, but Michael Jordan did something no one else even did. He did a 3-peat.
No, there's been 3.
Not once.
No, there's been 3-peats before.
But twice. Who's done it?
Well, there was a guy who did better than a three-peat. There was a guy who did an eight-peat.
You got to go all the way back to the 70s, to the 50s.
Well, no, not the 50s, but I think George Mikan did a three-peat too, but I think in the 40s. But anyway, there's been an eight-peat. Forget about a three-peat or a six-peat.
You're talking about the 50s, the Celtics, the 60s, 50s, 60s. There was only 8 teams in the league. That don't count. That don't count.
Well, first of all, there wasn't 8 teams every year. It depends on what year you're talking. I don't know what year.
I'm busting 8 chops. I'm busting 8 chops.
But let's just make it easy. Let's say there was 8 teams in the league every year. I'm gonna make it simple. There's a lot of problems with that argument. Now, I want to be fair to you and give you time to follow up. So let me just ask you, how many points do you want me to give you about why you shouldn't question the league for having less teams? How many points do you want me to give you?
3.
Okay, I'll give you 3 points. Number one, and there's no particular order. Number one, it's not their fault how many teams are in their league. So you're putting them in a lose-lose situation. If they don't win, you can say, look, they didn't win. If they do win, you can say, look, they didn't have that much teams, so they can't win with you. Number two, having less teams actually makes the league better, which I'll explain if you want, but let me just get to the last thing. Number three, if you're going to say that having less teams means the NBA is not as good, then by your logic, if you want to be fair and consistent, you got to be like, today's NBA was better when Michael Jordan was in the NBA. Oh, let me give you one more. Can I give you one more? Fourth one?
Go ahead. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Any solid ones you want to put on the table?
There's a lot. So if I go over all, it wouldn't be practical. It would take a lot of time. But I want to be fair to you and give you time to follow up. One more thing. What about international players? There's more international players today than ever. So if you're going to talk about the quality of the league and go, they had less teams and all that, then by your logic, when you have more international players, you get more of the best. So again, by your logic, today's NBA was better than when Michael Jordan was in the NBA.
Okay. Well, if there's once again, you don't have to be so extreme as far as comparing a league with 8 teams to a league with 30 teams.
Well, he didn't know.
Right, there's a big difference. 20. Let's say, how many teams we got? 24, 26. Are you
talking about today's NBA or when Michael Jordan was in the NBA?
Let's even say Jordan's era, and then because the difference between Jordan's era and today is only like a couple teams. There's a big difference between then and now.
No, when Michael Jordan came in 1984, and as the years passed, they were adding tons of teams, man. In fact, you know who Bill Simmons is? He's a guy in the media. Bill Simmons. He's a guy in the media.
Yeah.
He was saying something like, I don't know what book he was reading or what books he was reading. He was saying something like, when you read Michael Jordan's autobiography or biography or whatever, you get this impression from Michael Jordan that one of the reasons he wanted to come back to the NBA was because he thought it would be easier to win a ring. And one of the reasons, by the way, that he thought it might be easier, and one of the reasons a lot of people were saying in the 1980s and 1990s the league is not as good as it used to be, is because they kept adding teams. There was this thing that they said where the more teams you add, it makes the league watered down. The quality is not as good. Just think like this, man, an all-star game. If you have an all-star team that has only 14 spots, and then you have another all-star team that has 100 spots, which one is going to have the best of the best? The one with less spots. So when you have less teams, you have less spots, and only the best of the best go in the NBA. Just to give you a quick example, when Bill Russell was in the NBA, you had all American players who couldn't make the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
So the less teams means better quality in general.
I not disagreeing. I just might think that there could be a sweet spot per se. Like the NBA became better when it merged with the ABA.
Okay, so today's NBA is better when Michael Jordan was in the NBA, right?
Once again, I think it's closer in gap than it is comparing the 50s to the 80s. I think now, even though that's still 30 years, I think these 30 years are way closer than those 30.
Well, you'd have to be able to prove that to me. At the end of the game, Oscar Robertson said something like, I don't know why people in the media are always saying the game is so different. You shoot the ball, you rebound, you pass, and so on. At the end of the day, man, it's pretty much the same game. If you can ball, you can ball. Like if you're 7 feet tall and you weigh 249 pounds, No matter what year it is, you're 7 feet tall and you weigh 249 pounds.
For sure. I do think that, players from back then would definitely play better, would be better in today's game, for sure.
But not the 1980s and 1990s?
Whereas I can't say that players of today would be better back then.
Okay, why is that? I'm open-minded. What do you got?
Like, for sure, I think that Jordan, Bird, Magic would be better in today's game. But I can't say that today's players would be better. I can't say that Steph Curry would be better in that time.
No, I understand what you're saying. You're basically saying, look, players are good, but the 1980s and 1990s was the best, and today's NBA is not that good.
The balance of physicality and still offensive skill. You tell me Isaiah Thomas wasn't offensively gifted.
I could list. You tell me Kyrie Irving isn't offensively gifted.
But we know Kyrie won't win a game as the leader of a team.
How do you know?
Because he's had teams.
Okay, but now we're going back to it's a team game. It's not his fault if they don't win.
Okay, but look, now we've seen Kyrie go to Dallas and boom, all of a sudden team tank.
And we've seen Isaiah Thomas have lots of years he didn't win a ring.
But he was but he was at least making the playoffs. Maybe he didn't win. It's not always about winning. It's about what you're doing. Kyrie's a lottery. Is a lottery team.
I'm down with that, man. Hey, look, I like that argument. So by your logic, LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan because it ain't all about winning, and he went to more NBA Finals. And remember, you're the same guy. Real quick, you're the same guy who said something like Magic Johnson was going to lots of NBA Finals. So if you want to be fair and consistent, why not apply the same logic to LeBron James and other players?
I apply it to all the players except for LeBron and KD.
You know who
they're disqualified. Oh. They disqualified from GOAT talk.
Let me guess, because Kevin Durant joined the team, right?
He's disqualified from GOAT talk, and that's my guy. That's my guy.
So do you disqualify?
But he's disqualified.
Do you disqualify the people who joined up with Michael Jordan?
No.
Of course.
But these guys, but those guys aren't in the conversation.
So it's
Michael Jordan's the only one in the conversation.
So it's okay to join as long as you're not considered the number one NBA player of all time.
Yeah, you can't be top 5 players and like super teaming it.
So you could be top 6, but not top 5.
Nah. Like that's why LeBron don't get credit, because he went to Miami.
But who's not giving him the credit? It's usually only
y'all giving him too much credit. Y'all giving him too much credit.
No. I haven't told you much about LeBron James. You don't know what I think, but
I don't know yet.
But you're not giving him enough credit. You're undervaluing him, and you're giving Michael Jordan too much credit. Then, but at the end of the day, forget about all that. If you're gonna say winning isn't everything, going to the NBA,
the King is a special case, boy. We got to talk about the King because.
Which one?
It gets difficult. The King. We got to talk about LeBron because he polluted the waters trying to chase the GOAT, the ghosts of past, right? He wanted to.
Didn't Michael Jordan pollute the waters, and didn't he try to chase people to
Correct. So LeBron said, if y'all gonna say that Jordan's the best just because he got 6 rings, then I'm going to do whatever it takes to beat it. Because if I put up the numbers, you'll say I'm better.
But if you did that, why is that?
But it ain't about the numbers. Because it's not about numbers. It's about how you played the game.
That's the number.
So he would have got more respect for winning 2 in Cleveland than getting 4 and team hopping.
No, but when you say it's not about the numbers, it's about winning the game. The numbers represent how you do in the game. I notice a lot of Michael Jordan fans, they won't go, well, they'll go by statistics when it helps Michael Jordan or hurts someone else. But other than those things, I notice a lot of Michael Jordan fans, they act like statistics is a separate thing. That's what they do in a game.
Russell Westbrook, triple-double king. So?
Okay, but no one's saying Russell Westbrook is the greatest NBA player of all time.
But I'm just saying how numbers can skew a situation.
Not really. Well,
it's not about the numbers. It's about how you play the game.
But no.
And LeBron does play the game great, and he does deserve to be talked about.
No, but when you say his numbers, Russell Westbrook has some questionable numbers. It ain't like all his numbers are great. But other players have
there you go.
but other people have better numbers, and I don't get why act like statistics is a separate thing. That's what how they figure out the averages and totals of what a player does in a game. Now, if you say, look, statistics don't tell the whole story, I'm with you on that. But
That's all.
they tell you a lot, or they tell you most of the story.
They tell you, you can get statistics to paint whatever story you want.
That's true.
So when people say, "Oh man, we got to get that Russell Westbrook, we get them triple double numbers over here, man, we gonna be straight. That's all we need."
Okay.
Not realizing it's how you play the game.
Okay, now if you're going to say, look, you can play with numbers, you're right, you could. And you could do that with Michael Jordan, and people have done it with Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I mean, but once again though, but some of his numbers, right? When you talk about defensive player of the year,
That's not numbers, that's voting for someone to win an award.
but that's showing you how high a level he played.
No, it doesn't.
Talking
It just shows you people voting for somebody. Let me ask you, if I asked you to vote for someone who was the best defensive player in today's NBA, how would you figure that out?
I wouldn't even know. The guy who won, I probably don't even know who he is this year.
Oh, so there you go. So let me rephrase the question. If you were evaluating the 1980s and 1990s, and I said, hey, dude, you can go ahead and vote for who you think is the best defensive player in the NBA, how in the world would you be able to figure it out?
Well, they have statistics, on dudes field goal percentage up against you, and dudes be, we know Jordan was shutting dudes down. They were scoring in single digits when he was guarding them. Not all the time, obviously, but we know that Jordan was shutting guys down too, though.
How many Hall of Famers can you name that Michael Jordan guarded that he shut down?
There's a lot of guys that Jordan shut down. Whereas not every offensive player. James Harden isn't known for shutting dudes down. I'm not saying he don't play no D, but ain't nobody ever accused Harden of shutting somebody down locking somebody up.
No, but when you say he shut lots of people, name names. Who did he shut down? Hall of Famers.
I mean, come on, man. Like we know that. I can't think of any off top, but there's stories. There's stories. We can go in the archives and find the stories of dudes talking about how Jordan came through and shut them down. Man.
Hall of Famers? Come on, they're Hall of Famers. Nobody shuts down Hall of Famers. In general, I'm not saying literally nobody. I'm sure you can find some exceptions to the rule, but in general, there's no.
Of course, a great player. A great player can't be stopped unless you double team him.
Right. So when you say Michael Jordan shut down lots of dudes, are you talking about non-Hall of Famers?
He's still playing defense at a high level. He's taken that end of the game very serious.
How many Hall of Famers can you name that don't play defense at a high level or don't take defense seriously?
Hold on a second. Are you trying to insinuate that Michael Jordan was slacking on the defensive end?
Not at all.
Any night.
Well, I don't know about any night, but in general.
Any night. And I'm not even a fan like that. And that's how we're going to tell the story.
Well, okay, so there's two things to address here. So one, if you say any night, I would assume like any human being, you're not going to give it your all every time, every minute. Some people slack off or take a break or they don't do as well or whatever. But forget about that. Let's say I'm wrong. Let's say he didn't slack off every night. I could ask you the same question. I could ask you, are you going to tell me there's other Hall of Famers who slacked off on defense any night?
Yeah.
How many can you name? There might be some, but how many can you name?
Thousands.
Hall of Famers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, name names if you like.
Sure. All right, my favorite player of all time, Magic Johnson, is not known for playing defense.
Not being known doesn't mean he didn't do it.
AI, we know don't play defense. He will tell you he does. No, he's told us that he didn't play defense.
Oh, he said that? He said I don't play defense?
Yeah, he said he couldn't play no defense.
He said I don't play defense? Okay, all right.
Yeah, somebody tried to give him credit and he corrected him. He was like, nah, bro. He said, don't get me wrong, I'm fast in the lanes, but as far as one-on-one guarding my man? Nah.
Well, before you continue, I learned a while ago, and I'm not trying to be negative, whenever a Michael Jordan fan tells me something that I don't know about, I never rely on them because a lot of times they're wrong. But so just put that to the side. Let's assume Allen Iverson said that. That's one guy. Who else?
Okay. All right, let's see. We're just going to name some top. Let me see.
Remember now, I recommend
T-Mac.
I recommend don't name players that you think didn't play defense. Actually name players that you know you can prove didn't play defense.
Well, I gave you AI. I proved that one.
Well, that's what he said, supposedly.
Who else? Let's see off the top who we could think of who didn't play defense. Hall of Famer. T-Mac, I don't think is known for defense.
But remember, being known doesn't mean anything. People think Michael Jordan was the best defender of all time. That doesn't mean he is. You can't go by what people think, man. People think all sorts of things.
Well, how can we prove it then? Other than just
So if you can't prove it, I'm not saying you're wrong that you can't prove it. I'm saying if you can't prove it, why come to these kind of conclusions?
Because there are lots of guys on the record saying Jordan played hella defense.
And there's lots of guys who
there's nobody on the record saying that T-Mac locked him up on defense.
Well, but my argument is not about T-Mac. My argument is I'm
just going to give you a Hall of Famer.
Sure, but if you say lots of guys say things, lots of guys say lots of nice things about lots of players then. If you want to go by what people say, there was a guy who said he's not the number one NBA player of all time, and you shouldn't use rings to rank guys. You might have heard of him. His name is Michael Jordan. So do you go by what he says?
I don't use rings solely to use the
but I'm not saying you do.
GOAT category.
I'm not saying you do. He's saying you shouldn't use rings.
I'll put it to you like this. Kobe. Is Kobe, would you say Kobe, if I said Kobe didn't play good defense, what would you say?
I would disagree with you.
How do we know that?
Oh, because there's no evidence he didn't play good defense. But before we get to Kobe Bryant, remember, if you want to talk about what people say, Michael Jordan basically said he's not the number one NBA player of all time, and you shouldn't use rings to rank players. So, do you agree with him?
That's what a humble man should say.
Now, if other people,
because Magic won't say that he's the GOAT, Bird won't say that he's the GOAT. If the world wants to say Jordan's the GOAT, they're going to go right along with it because they have class.
Okay, now there's a lot
Jordan and Bird, I'm sure when Bird was playing and was beating Jordan, he felt like he was better than Jordan.
Okay, now there's a lot of problems with the humble argument. Again, I don't want to get too many points. I don't want to give you too many points for practicality, and I want to give you time to follow up. I'll just give you a few things. So number one, you're assuming he's being humble. Maybe he's not being humble. Maybe he's being honest, and maybe he's being humble. Number two, if you're going to say that Michael Jordan said those things because he's humble, you could say the same thing about other players who gave credit to Michael Jordan. Maybe they were being humble. Number three.
For sure.
And number three, at the end of the day, whether he's being humble or not, he still said it. So if you're going to go by what people say, why, if you want to be fair and consistent, why not go by what Michael Jordan said? And the last thing, it doesn't even matter if you go by what people say, if they're being humble, if you depend on people's takes and all that, because at the end of the day, man, there's no proof of these things that you're bringing up in general about Michael Jordan, where you disagree with me on.
I mean, there's proof that Jordan was playing defense. We know that.
That's true.
There's
and there's lots of proof that other Hall of Famers were playing defense. You know that?
Yes, for sure. And once again, it's not that he has qualities that no one has ever possessed, but like we were saying earlier, it might take 10 guys to equal all the qualities that he has.
I know you don't mean that literally, but come on, man.
Yes,
10 guys equal Michael Jordan. Come on, man.
I'm trying to say that you might have to find one guy who's defensively as good as Jordan, one guy who's as good a dunker as Jordan, right? These ain't the same guy. You're gonna have to find another guy who can shoot as good as Jordan, right? You have to find another guy.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just trying to give you an example of what he encompassed.
Yeah, no, if you're saying, look, you can find a guy better than Michael Jordan here, and another guy better than him here, and another guy better than here, another guy better than here, but at the end of the day, he had the total package. Are you saying he's the number one all-around player of all time? Come on, the answer is no.
Hold on. Well, yeah, if you want to be the GOAT, you play all 5 positions. You win Finals MVP as a rookie.
So
you know what I mean?
You're saying he's the number one.
You go to 9 Finals in 12 years.
Well, that's a team game.
That's magic.
Okay, fine. That's still a team game. So are you saying, just to confirm, you are saying Michael Jordan is the number one all-around NBA player of all time?
If you we're in your backyard, playing by yourself, you want to be Michael Jordan.
Well, it depends on who you ask.
You want to be able to score that block, you know what I mean? You want to be able to dunk on everybody.
There's people today who shoot the basketball and they yell out Steph Curry's name.
Hey, nowadays they do, but back in it, but still the slam dunk. If you can slam dunk the ball, it's still the sexy thing.
But that doesn't mean he's the number one all-around NBA player of all time. People liking him doesn't mean he's the number one all-around NBA player of all time. And by the way,
his offense was at a high level. His defense was at a high level. Steph Curry's not that.
His offense, Michael Jordan, was at a high level. His defense wasn't at a high level. But even if you disagree, that's okay. Because at the end of the day, it still doesn't mean he's the number one all-around NBA player of all time. There's lots of people out there whose offense are at a high level and whose defense are at a high level. And by the way, I also want to point out to you, if you say that Michael Jordan is the number one all-around NBA player of all time, you have a little bit of a inconsistency and contradiction when you go Michael Jordan's top 3 or top 5 when it comes to all the NBA players who are playing the NBA.
He's right. He's 3. He's 3.
So
he's 3. I mean, because he's the perfect. He's the perfect height. Got the big hands. You know what I mean?
The perfect height.
The game is there. 6'6". When you 6'6" and up 6'6" to 6'9", that's that sweet spot.
If you say
that sweet spot.
If you're saying the perfect height and his hands, and I think maybe you mentioned weight, maybe I'm not sure, and all that, you don't think you're a Michael Jordan fan?
I could keep it real. I don't have him number 1, but I could keep it real and say the man was great.
No, but I'm not talking about if you think he's great. You're saying he has the perfect height and his hands and
just about 6'6" to 6'9", right there. When you 6'9", you can see over everybody. You can just do stuff differently at 6'9". I don't know. 6'6".
I heard that argument with people who tear down Magic Johnson. Oh, he could see over everybody. Like, no, that's not true. People were taller than him, and when you're a point guard dribbling the ball, you're not standing up straight. You're keeping it low to the earth, and you can't exactly see over everybody. And plenty of times he had his back towards people. You know how he played sometimes. I don't think
booty ball.
So I don't think
he had a little booty ball to him.
Sometimes he did that. So I don't think he saw over everybody. But even if I'm wrong, it doesn't matter anyway. Like there's no such thing as the perfect height and perfect weight for an NBA player. It's just you can have an opinion, but that doesn't mean you're right. Some people might say being 7 feet is better, or 6'1" or 6'11" or whatever. But at the end of the day, man, if you say Michael Jordan is the number one all-around NBA player of all time, he shouldn't be top 3 or top 5 when it comes to all the NBA players who are playing the NBA. He should be the number 1 NBA player of all time.
It's how you play the game. And Magic and Bird play to win.
Who doesn't play to win?
Well, Jordan would rather get clothesline. Jordan would rather catch a clothesline from the Pistons than pass to the open man.
Well, okay. I don't know if that's true, but okay. Right.
So that means he didn't want to do whatever it took to win. He wanted to score, right?
He always wanted
like
to
our boy Jelly Bean. Jelly Bean used to sabotage the offense so he could get the ball back.
Now, remember earlier you said something like, it's the winning that matters. It's not all about the statistics. So if Michael Jordan would rather get clothesline instead of pass the ball and he wants to score, how can that guy be the number 1 all-around NBA player of all time and a top 3 or top 5 NBA player of all time?
He turned it around. He turned it around. That was early on.
But all those years don't count.
He had a 6-year run of supreme.
No, but you're throwing out all those years and going by 6 years to say that he's the number 1 all-around NBA player of all time. He's top 3 or top 5.
No. I got Magic and Bird. You know that. But as an individual, fast, offense, defense, shoot at a high clip, shoot at 50%. Killer instincts, all game long.
You could apply that to lots of players.
Not everybody.
Well, you'd have to be able to, not everybody, but lots of players.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
By the way, because you skipped over something. If you're saying, look, he's the number 1 all-around NBA player of all time, and he's top 3 or top 5 when it comes to all the NBA players who are playing the NBA, You're coming to those conclusions based on 6 years, and you're throwing out all the other years where you question him.
Even in the other years, they seen him coming.
But you said that he'd rather score, he'd rather get close, and he'd rather get clothesline. You were basically questioning him, and he didn't win. How come all those years don't count?
Well, it's the teams that beat him, though. He did lose to the Pistons and the Celtics.
Right.
The creme de la creme.
So by your logic, if you're going to say, look, he cared more about scoring, he'd rather get clothesline, he didn't win, and all that, by your logic, he can't be the number one all-around NBA player of all time. He can't be a top 3 or top 5 NBA player of all time.
His highs were higher than most people's highs.
What do you mean?
You tell me a team from 1970 on that's won 3 in a row.
Well, I'm going to ask you right away, why are those the years? Why not before? Why not 1969? Why 1970?
Well, it's like the game, it's hard to win a ring.
Right.
As you mentioned, it is hard to win a ring. Not everybody, no matter how great you are, you're not going to win every year.
No,
great players are not going to win.
Right. Only one winner every year. Right. Most people are going to lose.
And so, like I mentioned earlier, Magic was the first to win a back-to-back. That took 20 years. Lots of great teams, but nobody can even win a back-to-back. Even if you look now, you still got to see super teams. That's what it takes to win a back-to-back.
But he wasn't the
right?
first to win back-to-back. And even if you say, I'm not going to count the other years, you're just coming up with your own time frame and saying this is when it counts, and then you're acting like he won it by himself.
Because, come on, we're not including the years when there wasn't a shot clock. You know what I mean? And you could just dribble and the final score is 7-6. We're not calling that basketball.
But if you want to talk about shot clocks.
You know what I mean?
No, but then if you want to count shot clocks and when higher scoring happened, then there's plenty of years you're not including.
We have to go pretty far back. I'm going pretty far back,
No, 1970, you're eliminating tons of players. And if you love the game...
No, I'm going back into the 60s, actually. I said 19 years it's been since somebody last won a back-to-back before Magic.
No, you said 1970.
If Magic won a back-to-back in 80-something, 20 years from there, 60-something. So, we're going back to the 60s. Since someone won a back-to-back.
But again, one guy...
That's how, but that's how far back you got to go.
But one guy doesn't win or lose. Even if I accept your time frame and you eliminate the other years, which I don't accept, why act like one guy wins and loses by himself?
One guy's going to get the credit, yes.
Who gives him the credit now? It's usually Michael Jordan fans who give a guy a credit.
No. Every team... All right. Who won last year? When Milwaukee won. All
right.
It's Giannis' team. We give Giannis the credit.
But if Giannis lost, would they blame him?
Yeah.
Okay, and who would...
When KD lost to Milwaukee, whose fault was it that he stepped on the line?
It depends who you're asking.
If his toe was behind the line, they win and go to the finals, right?
But who are you asking? Who are you asking?
It doesn't matter who you ask. That's just the facts of the game.
No, it's not a fact. Facts that happened, but we're talking about blame and credit. Who's giving them the blame and giving them the credit? It's usually there's two groups of people.
If he took the shot.
Right, but there's two groups of people who usually say this guy won and this guy lost. There's only two groups: Michael Jordan fans and other people who learn from Michael Jordan fans. There's nobody else. I've never heard a Jerry West fan or a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar fan or a Oscar Robertson fan or anybody else or any of the sport go, this guy is the reason they won and this guy is the reason they lost. Now, lately in football, it's been happening more. You know why? Because a lot of people in the world of ESPN and Fox Sports and TNT and all those other people in the media who are Michael Jordan lovers, they're carrying it over to football now. They're going, oh, this guy has more rings than that guy. This guy beat that guy. That guy has one more ring than that guy. Oh, that guy doesn't even belong at a table. He has 0 rings.
Well, basketball is only 5 guys on the court at a time.
Right.
Baseball, football, there's larger amounts of men, larger amounts of teams.
Right.
So, obviously when there's only 5 guys at a time, it's easier to point out one guy as the catalyst for them winning.
That's right. But
Now,
easier don't make it right.
now, but it is what it is. Now, once again, it's how it's done, right? If those 76ers would have won with Allen Iverson, there's no doubt about it, that was his team. They didn't have nobody else there to score the ball, to shoot the ball. That team was only there to play defense.
Before Michael Jordan came along, there was hardly anyone in the sports
He
world.
definitely brought the ball hogging attitude for sure.
No, I wasn't even saying that.
Mentality.
What I was going to say was, before Michael Jordan came along, and I'm not saying this never happened, so don't say, I'm not saying it's 100%, okay? But in general, most people in basketball, baseball, soccer, or whatever, they didn't go, this guy is the reason they won, and this guy is the reason they lost. This started with Michael Jordan fans. It became a thing with 6 rings, 6-0, 6 for 6, no game 7. And then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar fans and Bill Russell fans were like, all right, y'all want to go by rings? All right, Bill Russell has 11 rings. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has 6 rings. And Magic Johnson fans were talking about 5 rings and how many times he went to the finals and so on. This became a thing with Michael Jordan fans, and they're still doing it today.
Interesting.
Have you ever heard anyone say Jerry West is better than Oscar Robertson because of how many rings he had, or Babe Ruth is better than Ty Cobb based on how many rings he has, or Muhammad Ali is better than Ken Norton based on how many championships he has, and so on? Nobody did this in general.
I think that there were 3 players' greatness that's just supersedes and is stuff of legends. And it's because of how they played the game. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Michael Jordan. The way that when you look at what Magic did, he's the greatest Laker over Kareem.
I don't know if that's true, but okay.
There's no doubt about it.
I can tell you this though: those 3
when
guys.
I moved to LA, there was so many cars out here because I'm from New York. But when I moved out here, there were so many cars that were LA cars, flags, all of this stuff. You never seen anything like this, right?
Well,
there's probably a few places you can go and see stuff like this, right? The whole city.
Real quick, I'm familiar with Los Angeles too. You could make an argument. I'm not saying this is 100%, okay? But you can make an argument. Los Angeles is more of a Dodger city than a Lakers city. You know that, especially back in the day.
Maybe not when the Lakers were winning, though. You got to realize when you're in the finals every year, like I said, I seen cars. I didn't see a bunch of Dodger cars.
Oh, no,
all I seen were Laker cars out here.
But that's
when I first moved out here in the late 90s. And that's because of how spoiled they were. Being in the finals every year, expecting a championship, demanding a championship. Every car out here was a Laker car.
But we can't
different go by purple and gold. And I'm just letting you know what Magic created out here.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I believe you, but we can't go by your personal experience. We got to go by all the other evidence. And I'm not saying it's
that's evidence.
No, that's some evidence, but that's not all the evidence. I'm not saying that it's 100% Dodgers and that's it. I'm saying you can make an argument that they were just as much in love with the Dodgers or more in love with the Dodgers. Now, if you disagree, that's fine. We can get into that some other time.
I can't disagree with the LA Dodger love, but like I said, I didn't see Dodger cars when I moved out here. I'm only telling you what I saw. I'm not from out here.
That's fine.
So if I was to, just as an outside person looking in, I was like, good Lord.
I understand. But and anyway, it's going to be a different topic, so I want to get off that one. So it doesn't matter if you think it's more Dodger Town, Laker Town, or just about even then, because at the end of the day, man, you can't go by what people think. People are just going by whatever they like. They're not all reliable. Some of them are just in love with certain players and so on. You got to go by what you can prove. And at the end of the day, man, if you're going to make a case that Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and Magic Johnson were the main 3 guys, you'd have to prove that. They're only the main 3 guys because the media pushes them. I have no reason to think that Alex English is not part of that group, or your guy Dominic Wilkins is not part of that group, or Elvin Hayes is not part of that group, and or maybe Karl Malone, or John Stockton, or Hakeem Olajuwon, or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or whatever. They're not in that group.
Some of these guys for sure are not in that group.
But that's what you claim. There's no proof of this.
Based off of the facts of the game.
No, there's no proof. If you have some facts, prove it.
There are facts. I mean,
but at the end of the day, you're going by what the media.
I'm giving you the facts of the game, but you might not want them. But the facts of the game are Jordan won the scoring titles. He won the defensive plays of the year. Those are just facts.
Okay,
They're not my opinion of him.
no, but hold on,
That
hold on.
means that he was playing defense.
Let me.
You can say
Well,
T-Mac
there's
played
a lot
as
to
good
address
a
there, man.
defense as Jordan,
There's a lot
but
to
he
address
never
there.
won a defensive player.
Hang on, dude. There's a lot to address there. So
Okay.
I was talking about three guys: Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Michael Jordan. I was not talking about one guy. You gave me some facts. That's true, but your facts didn't prove that you're right and I'm wrong. And also, you have to consider you're going by the most famous guys, the guys the media pushes. I don't think that's a coincidence that you're going by the guys who are the most well known. Why isn't Alex English, Dominic Wilkins, John Stockton, and all those other guys there? You say there's some facts,
Because
but
they
there's
didn't
no
win.
proof. If
At
you,
the end of the day, you got to win.
Right.
Dominique's my favorite, but he didn't win.
you don't have to win anything to be better than somebody.
You do.
Okay.
Your team, at some point in time, put it like this: a guy who never won is never going to be considered better than a guy who won.
I can prove it to you now. When Michael
Who?
Jordan didn't win a ring, they were calling him the number one NBA player in the NBA, and they were calling
For sure.
him the number one NBA player of all time.
They seen something coming.
But you can't have it both
Once again,
ways. It's an
hold on. So take Michael Jordan off the table.
All right.
Who else can you say that about?
Okay. Lots of people they were saying was the best
Yeah,
player in the NBA or the best player of all time.
Who, when it's all said and done, right? Because
Okay.
you know, when you see the young rookie, oh yeah, he gonna be the one. He's gonna be the greatest of all time. Yeah, we say that. But when it's all said and done, right? You've been in the league for 12, 15 years. You tell me one guy who has not won a ring that is considered in there,
As meaning in their means.
in the top conversation.
Okay.
Patrick Ewing don't even get talked about.
Okay, I'll name you a guy, but you know you're again going by what people think. That doesn't mean you're right. People think whatever they want. If a guy from Pakistan,
Well, it's up to us to have this conversation and get to the nitty gritty.
if a guy from Pakistan was 14 years old and he told you what he thought about who's the number one NBA player of all time, it doesn't necessarily mean he's right or wrong. You wouldn't go by him, would you? I guess it depends.
Well, number one, he hasn't seen the other guys play, so for him to talk, it'd be very difficult.
You got a contradiction now. You haven't seen all the other guys play either.
At least what I'm saying is we're going back to a time where the NBA at least had a lot of teams, a shot clock, things like that. That's all.
And they had a lot of teams and shot clock and things like that also before the 1980s.
Okay, and I've included the 70s, the 60s.
No, you haven't. You said the 1980s and the 1990s. I don't have your exact words. Don't quote me.
70s. I said at least the 70s.
But you basically said the best time in the NBA was the 1980s and 1990s, and the best three players were Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan is the number one all-around NBA player of all time, and he's top three, top five all time. And the past NBA wasn't as skilled, and they had less teams, and the competition, evolution, you know, it wasn't as good. It got better later on, and all that. You're not giving them the same credit at all, man.
I'm at least going back to the mid 60s, right? Or so, and even at a minimum, it still proves how difficult it is to win a back-to-back. What Magic did.
It's difficult. It's a team thing. It's not a guy doing it by himself.
Okay, all right, but at the end of the day, no team was able to do it. Magic's team was able to do it, and he was able to do that.
That's not
right?
true. Before
he was
Magic
able to
Johnson,
get his team
No, that's not
to
true.
the finals 9 times.
Before Magic Johnson, there were more than one team that won more than 2 years in a row.
No, they weren't.
There were, man. I can give you examples again if you like. But even if I'm wrong, let's say I'm wrong. Let's say nobody did it. Why give Magic Johnson the credit because of that? He didn't win by himself.
Well, because there's certain fingerprints that you see, right?
So he didn't.
So
have
when
the
I
same,
see fingerprints, right?
He didn't have the same.
So when I say that,
every year?
when I say that Phil Jackson's the best coach, it's because he won a three-peat 2 times.
Okay, so when Magic
No
Johnson,
coach was able to do that.
okay, so when Magic Johnson won and when Magic Johnson lost, did he have different fingerprints?
The fact that he made it to the finals gives him that credit.
Okay.
The Lakers put it like this: Kareem didn't get to the finals all them times until he played with Magic.
Okay, I can get into this about getting to the finals, but remember, you said he won 2 rings in a row back to back, so you're changing the topic.
once again, if you want to look at certain, like for me, it's like 60-40 coach versus the player, right? The coach is usually the reason why the player wins.
So then why give it to the player?
It's always the coach, except for in Magic's case.
Okay, so
it was the player.
Okay, well, I don't know.
And that's why he's number one. He supersedes. He was the driving force. Bird. Now, once again, you can see Bird and Magic, they were the highest rated college game.
Right.
So people could see their greatness. You can see it. It's not just, you can see it.
It's the Super Bowl that has a high rating. You think everybody who watches the Super Bowl is an educated NFL fan? The answer
it's still the highest rated game to this day.
I don't know. Yeah, but lots of people watch a game for a million different reasons.
And that game was watched because those two dudes created that much buzz.
No, I'm pretty sure a lot of people watched them because they were wanting their team to win.
That's still the highest rated game. Now, obviously, there's lots of reasons that go into maybe there's less things to watch, right? Back then,
yes,
TV, there wasn't many TV channels, right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the mistakes Michael Jordan fans make. You guys go by popularity contests. Popular doesn't equal factual.
So what do you think about the eye test?
That's a good question. It comes handy, but if two guys watch the same tape and they have two different conclusions, who's right and who's wrong?
So at the end of the day, if Magic Johnson's team is always in the finals, what you want me to say?
Well,
at what point in time do you give him the credit?
No, you give him credit, no doubt. There's a reason why he's helping his team get to the finals and win the finals. I think Magic Johnson is better than Michael Jordan. And I like that he's an all-around player. He brings more to the table than Michael Jordan. He helps his team more than Michael Jordan, all that. But if I want to be fair, I got to be consistent. And I want to be consistent. I'm going to tell you, man, one guy doesn't win a ring all by himself. Remember, I asked you earlier, if Magic Johnson wins and Magic Johnson loses, do they have different fingerprints?
Well, put it like this. When Magic lost to the Celtics that year, right? We all know he went home. It was called tragic.
Hardly anyone. Sorry to interrupt you.
Because he played bad.
Just real quick. Hardly anyone called him tragic. This was something that was reminded by Michael Jordan fans in the media. Chris Bussard started bringing it up, or whoever brought it up, and now people started bringing it up over and over. Hardly anyone called him tragic.
Look, it's not. It was in the newspaper, right?
Yeah.
He had an off season where that's what he had to deal with.
Okay.
And the next year, he came back. His team came back, and he hit that game-winning shot. Kareem, you can say Kareem was open in the corner, whatever you want. But Magic Johnson brought it home.
But the game is not
skyhook over 2-3 dudes. No, because at the end of the day, it's a make-or-miss league, right? If you miss this shot, you lose.
No, it's not a make-or-miss league. No, the game is not decided at the end of the game. There's a lot of things that happen before that. And there's a lot of things, by the way, that happen at the end of the game.
As I've heard Charles Barkley say, any real NBA game should be within 7 points.
Okay.
When it gets down to the nitty-gritty.
By the way, Charles Barkley is an idiot. He has all kinds of dumb takes. Putting it out there.
You can say he's wild, but he's also, he understands some stuff. He may be hard on players, but he also knows what he's talking about as far as...
Charles Barkley, coincidentally, today I put a video on my first page where he basically explained that when people use rings to rank players, it's bad for the NBA.
Chuck is a very great player. He's definitely, once again, put it like this. Everyone who's in the top 50 or top 75 didn't win a ring.
There you go.
So it's not that you have to win a ring to be in that conversation.
But
if you want to be the number one guy, you had to have won at least one.
Why?
You can't never, because that's why you play the game. Okay, if you can't win a ring,
How do you win a ring by yourself? How do you do that?
Put it like this. Why does Kyrie
No. I want to know, how do you win a ring
Why
by
are
yourself?
his teams, when he's the star player, why are his teams lottery teams?
That's a good question. We can get into that, but how do you win a ring by yourself?
Because it's how you play the game.
How do you win a
Some
ring?
guys put themselves and their teams in position, right?
How?
LeBron James, whatever I want to say, puts his players and his teams in position, right?
I'm going to give you an extreme case
My
scenario.
boy Jelly Bean,
I'm
right? When he didn't have Phil Jackson for those 2 years, did he make the playoffs?
You're acting like one guy does it by himself, man. It's not one guy. No matter how many times you slice it
Phil
about,
Jackson came back and took that same team to the playoffs.
no matter how many examples you give of a guy winning and a guy losing, there's a million reasons why teams win and lose. You're simplifying
sure.
it to acting like this is why they won because of this guy or that guy, or they won at the end of the game, or it's a coach. Let me give you I'm gonna tell you like this, man. You can score 100 points, get 100 rebounds, 100 steals, and all that, and never win a game. Now, you can get 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 steals, and all that, and win every game.
All right, but we both know that's not happening.
Right. Now,
I understand what you're saying, but we know that's not happening.
The second one.
And so we got to find a sweet spot
But
in the
hold
middle.
on. I gave an extreme case scenario or extreme cases because I wanted to show you if it can happen on the extreme level, then you know what's going to happen in the normal level. That means if you score 28 points, 14 rebounds, 11 assists, or whatever, you can still lose, and you can get 4 points, 6 rebounds, maybe 8 assists, and you can still win. It's not up to a guy. No matter how good you play, or no matter how bad you are, or how much, if you're average or whatever, it ain't going to come down to you. It's a team game.
It's a team game.
No matter what coach you have, it's not about the coach. It's not about you. It's not about the clutch situation, all that. It's a lot of things that come into play.
All right, but it's just that some guys are always in a good situation based off of how they play.
No, based on their surroundings. They always play good. How many Hall of Famers do you know that are in their prime that are so different when they win and lose? Remember I asked you earlier about Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan. When Michael Jordan wins and loses and Magic Johnson wins and loses, what's the difference? They're the same guys. What's the difference? They're the same guys.
You got to stop giving Mike a hard time, brother. I mean, you can't argue with the 10-time scoring champion, the defensive players of the year. It's not my opinion. Like, I give him a hard time too, but man, there's not too many guys who are busting you down both ends of the court all game long. That's just, And so he benefited of playing against some of the top competitors of all time.
Well,
so, of course, that made him a top competitor.
Before you continue, some of those things you listed, you shouldn't be going by those things. And if you go by those things, you're going to have some contradictions. There's lots of players as good as Michael Jordan, and there's lots of players better than Michael Jordan.
In certain areas, but as a whole, when you talk about the finished product, give me 2 guys, 3 guys that are complete like Michael Jordan.
Okay, so if you're going to say as a whole, if you go by the whole picture, there are guys as good as Michael Jordan or better than Michael Jordan. Now, if you want 2 examples, I can give you 2 examples, no problem. But if I give you 2 examples or don't, it doesn't mean you're right or you're wrong. So if you make, if you're going to act like he's a number 1 all-around NBA player of all time, it's up to you to prove it. And so far, you haven't proven it. And you know why you haven't proven it? Because there is no proof.
I mean, once again, I know it's a team sport, but those 3 rings, that's something that hasn't been done in 30 years, right? And let's see, now in this future game that we're talking about, how many back-to-backs have we seen?
But
how many three-peats have we seen?
But you have a contradiction if you say it's a team game and then you give credit, and then you put it on a guy for winning and losing. That's a contradiction.
I'm just showing you that gentleman was a part of something that we're not going to see too often because it's very hard to win, even 1 ring.
But you could
Forget
say,
two.
you could say this about lots
And
of
then
Hall
a
of
back to
Famers.
back. Oh, forget it.
You could say this about lots of Hall of Famers. You could say we're not going to say this type of Hall of Famer too often. And yeah, it's hard to win for a team. A guy doesn't win by himself. A guy doesn't lose by himself. A team doesn't lose by themselves. I'm sorry. A team wins and a team loses.
But here's the thing. You can say we know how hard it is to win. But Michael Jordan did a three-peat, not once, but 2 times. So now you can't just act like nobody else can do that.
No, but you're going in a circle. One, as you acknowledge a guy doesn't win and lose, you acknowledge the team game, and then you act like a guy wins and loses. You're contradicting yourself.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to have to give him the credit. I mean,
Why?
Phil deserves all the credit.
Why?
But because he got it done. He got it done.
No, he didn't.
You know, Scotty didn't get it done.
No, you said it was a team sport, did you not? So he didn't get it done by himself.
I'm going with your words, since you don't like when we give one guy the grunt of the, and you know what it is. Yes, you need a team, and maybe, you know, don't take things so literally when we say, you know, it says this is the guy who's clearly the leader of the team. So we're gonna just, for, you know, to save time, we're just gonna mention that guy's name. But yeah, it's definitely a team win.
We went through this. Michael Jordan was the leader when he won. Michael Jordan was a leader when he lost. So what's the difference? It's the same Michael Jordan in general.
Because at the end of the day, not only was he offense, defense, and he did get to those 6 rings, right? So yeah, he was, at the end of the day, Charles Barkley, as great as Charles Barkley was as an NBA player, he never won, right?
How's that his fault? How is that his fault?
How is it not his fault?
Because one guy cannot win and lose by himself. It's a team game, as you agreed.
Yeah, but sometimes you gotta go into a dark place. You know, Chuck was being all buddy with Mike when Mike was trying to take his head off.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, I know what you're saying. I get some of what you mean, but there's no connection to what we're going over right now. You got to go into a dark place. Michael Jordan took his head off. What does this have to do with how is it up to Charles Barkley to win? How is it his fault that he lost?
So if Charles doesn't have the killer instinct to get the job done, that's on Charles. That ain't on his whole team or whatever. He's still the go-to guy, you know. Yes, Jordan changed the game on how they viewed it as far as, okay, go-to guy, close the show, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, there is some truth to that, you know.
But how do you know Charles?
When I say Jordan wasn't as good as Bird, I seen games where going into the 4th quarter, it's tied up.
But how do you know
in the
Charles
4th
Barkley
quarter,
didn't have a killer instinct?
Jordan goes 0 for 5. Bird goes 5 for 5. Celtics win by 10. Gee, ain't that the same difference as to what happened right there between those two guys?
We went through this. The game is not decided at the end. And by the way, Michael Jordan was on lots of teams that didn't win. So are you going to blame him?
He was on lots of teams that didn't win, but he was on lots of teams that did win.
Okay, but the same guy was on lots of teams that didn't win.
You can't take for granted what it takes to even win one.
Are you going to blame him when they lost?
It's not about blame. The fact is,
you blame other players.
If you never win, if you James Harden, we're going to talk about you.
So
because we've seen you choke. We've seen you choke too many times. Not even just that Jordan, right? I said how Jordan missed the shot against the Lakers in game 1. The Lakers stole home court, but he was still dropped 30. He was still a monster. You know what I mean? We've seen him come through, whereas we've seen James Harden, and we're not liking what we're seeing.
If a player has 0 rings, and now they won 1 ring, now everything's okay with you?
Are you trying to tell me the world ain't get off of Kyle Lowry's back?
I'm not sure what you mean. What do you mean?
What?
I'm not sure what you mean. What do you mean?
Oh, Kyle Lowry was getting a lot of smack talk, and then all of a sudden now he won that ring with Kawhi, and you don't hear it no more.
Yeah, who are most NBA fans? Most NBA fans are Michael Jordan fans. And why are you going by what people think anyway? Again, you can't go by what people think. It doesn't mean you're right or wrong. It's just what people go by, whatever they want. By your logic, any player who has 1 more ring than another player, and I'm not talking about like Robert Horry and Michael Jordan. I'm talking about players on the same level. Actually, you know what? Any player, even if they're not on the same level, if they have one more ring than someone else, they're better.
Not one more. No. Because Larry Bird is better than Michael Jordan, and he only has 3 rings.
So rings they come into play sometimes, but not always.
They're an ingredient in the recipe. It's not the main. It's not the whole, recipe though.
But when you make
it does matter a little bit.
But when you make the recipe and you're trying to compare players and rank them, how do you figure out what portion to use in the recipe? How do you figure out the amount of portion? How do you know the value of what a ring is worth? Okay, for Michael Jordan.
Okay, interesting.
Larry Bird is worth this much.
Say that again?
Like, how do you figure out, okay, for Michael Jordan, it's worth this much. He's, and for Larry Bird, it's worth this much.
Okay. Just like if LeBron didn't leave Cleveland, right? We all know 1 or 2 rings in Cleveland would have meant more than all 4 of his jumping around.
Who's we?
LeBron wouldn't get all the hatred that he gets.
He gets it mostly from you Michael Jordan fans. You know that, right?
It's what we're doing. I put it like this. You ever heard the saying, you can't cheat the game of basketball. Basketball is a very mystical game. It's a special game. Mm-hmm. When you play basketball, we got a saying. It's called ball don't lie.
Basketball is a mystical game? What was the other one? Special game?
It's a special mystical game, right? Okay, yeah. It has a way of correcting itself.
Well, I guess you could.
So that's why when we play the game, right, it always be like ball don't lie, right?
I guess you could make the point it's a special game, but it's. What do you mean by it's? You mean it's a mystical game?
What I'm saying is that eventually the cream is going to come to the crop.
Oh, okay.
And everything, because right now we're looking at greatness, right? And we're determining who's the greatest, right? We're determining the fans. It's our job and our pleasure to do it, right? So we're looking at greatness and we're grading the levels of greatness that we've seen, right? And so some people are looking at Steph Curry's greatness like, yo. But there's some people like, yo, man, I've seen guys that great and, maybe even a little bit better. And then you're looking at this guy's greatness. And so we're comparing the greatness. And so when I talk about a Magic Johnson.
There's a couple of problems. Some of the things that people go by, they shouldn't be going by. And then even some of the things they go by, they're going to have a lot of contradictions.
Mm-hmm. Well, people love a winner. Once you start winning, that changes, But we got to have a few of us real ones out there who got to be objective.
But there's a lot of people.
So just having the most rings doesn't necessarily make you the greatest.
There's a lot of people who love players who don't win rings. And if you're saying rings aren't the only thing, we get that. But why are they there? And you're having contradictions if you go by rings. How do you know the value of the rings? What value do you put on it?
At the end of the day, you have to, at some point in time, we have to just, even though it's a team game, right? At some point in time, we got to stop all the shucking and jiving, right? So put it like this, in baseball, right? If your team don't make the playoffs, it's going to be really hard for you to win the MVP. Like maybe Andrew Dawson did it or something, but at the end of the day, you can call it a team game, whatever you want. If your team ain't winning no games.
You made that up. You made all that up. In baseball, there must be a million players who won the MVP and didn't make the playoffs.
Or no, I mean no, you're right, because there was only but a few guys that made it to the playoffs. But no, in baseball, there's not that many guys whose team ain't in it, right? Your team ain't even in the running, and you up for MVP, right? Your team cannot be trash, and you up for MVP.
That's not true, man. Your team can be trash and you can be up for MVP. That's not true. You made that up.
How often do you see a guy whose team in basketball, let's bring it to basketball, right, a guy who doesn't make the playoffs and wins the MVP?
A guy who, well, that's a different topic because half the league goes to the playoffs.
Usually, the guy who wins the MVP in basketball is the team that wins the most games.
Usually, the guy who wins the MVP in basketball is the team that wins the most games. Oh, you made that up.
No, I'm not. You go back and look at all the MVPs in history, and you're going to realize almost every time it's the guy on the team with the most wins. That's why Jordan didn't give it every year. Because Jordan clearly is the most valuable player.
Yeah, he used to win the MVP when he was on a team that didn't have the most wins.
No, he didn't.
Yeah,
Jordan didn't win the MVP all the time.
I didn't say he did, but he won the MVP sometimes.
And the years that he didn't win is because they gave it to Karl Malone or whatever, because his team won more games. But clearly, Michael Jordan was the MVP.
But bro, Michael Jordan won the MVP award sometimes when he was on a team that didn't have the most wins.
How many MVPs did Jordan win?
I think he. Well, you guys are always telling people. I'm surprised you don't know, but didn't he win?
I'm not a Jordan. I'm a Magic fan, Magic man, baby.
I mean, are you? Really,
I just respect Jordan a lot more than you do.
Are you really gonna? Well, no, that's not true. You overrate him.
I overrate him. Okay. I like that. That's a good one.
It's not that you respect him more than me. You overrate him. I don't overrate him like you. I don't overrate him at all. But anyway, what was it? There was another topic earlier. What was it again? It was I don't know. And anyway, so winning the MVP is not really about who has the most wins in the NBA.
90% of the time, it is.
90% of the time, you just made that up.
All right. Are you sure that I'm not right?
I know you made it up. If you're right, it's just.
Are you sure that I'm not right?
If you're right, it's a coincidence.
No. No. Are you sure that I'm not right? That's the point. Because it's one thing just to say that I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. But if I'm right in what I'm saying,
You again, if you're right, it's a coincidence. You know, you didn't do any research to find out if it was 90%. You know that. You just made that percentage up.
All right, maybe for sure that number it could be higher. It could be 95%, right? You know what I mean?
But I'm willing to guess it's not.
But the point is that majority of the time, the guy who wins the MVP is the guy who's on the team that wins the most games.
The majority of the time?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think that's true, but let's say you're right. Okay, let's just say you're right. Okay, that the MVP is the guy a majority of the time is on a team. He's on a team that wins the most. That has the most wins. So what?
So that means that at some point in time, we have to just so we're not flopping around all night. Now, at some point in time, we have to equate the wins to that guy.
Why?
Well, the MVP is never the guy on the losing team.
Never?
Maybe once or twice in history.
Well, it sounds like you're not sure. Are you sure? Remember you were asking me if I was sure?
If we've had 60 years of basketball and only one or two guys won a losing team and won the MVP, then my point is still made.
I'm pretty sure NBA has been around for more than 60 years, and your point is not made. You're just coming to these conclusions without doing enough research, and you're guessing things and all that.
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah. I'm here. I'm watching these games.
Let's say you're right, okay? Let's say the majority of MVPs are on the teams that have the most wins. Again, so what? People vote for all kinds of reasons. You're just assuming that everyone who votes is reliable.
So pretty much it's like saying, I know if I got Magic Johnson on my team, I'm going to the finals.
If you have a good team.
Nah, I'm telling you, if I got me, Magic Johnson will take me, you, your mama, and my mama to the finals.
I love Magic Johnson as a player, but he's not doing it by himself. By the way, he didn't go to the finals every year. You know that.
Byron Scott averaged 20 points with Magic Johnson, 10 points when Magic retired. What's going on?
So Byron scored 10 less points only because of Magic Johnson leaving?
I mean, if you were 20, Jamal Crawford is a 20-point scorer his whole career. That dude come off the bench and give you 20. It don't matter. That's what he does.
Okay, so Scottie Pippen's numbers got better when Michael Jordan left. I guess Michael Jordan's not a good leader, not a good team player.
Marginally.
No, his numbers,
maybe.
People thought he should have won the MVP award. Some people.
That's nice. And I don't take any credit for Mike playing with Scottie. That's cool. You do have to have some players there. And Scottie was definitely a great player.
But
you just hard on him, man. Mike was still the
No,
leader of that team,
I'm not
and
hard on Michael Jordan at all, man. You're overrating him big time, like most Michael Jordan fans.
well, no, most Michael Jordan fans, you can't get a word in. That is facts. That's a special group. That's a special group right there, boy.
I mean,
Who's wilder, Michael Jordan fans or Cowboy fans?
Michael Jordan fans.
You're not even gonna think about it.
Michael Jordan fans are the worst sports fans of all time. No doubt about it. No doubt.
Worse than Cowboy fans.
There's no one even close to them. There's Michael Jordan fans. There's everybody else. If you don't agree, there's only two possible reasons. Probably only two possible reasons.
He said you probably one of them.
One is because you don't know all the information, and the second one could be because you're one of them.
Look, man, those are two crazy fan bases, man. Those Cowboys, because even when at least Jordan was nice. Like, I'm gonna tell you like this,
Michael
man.
Jordan was nice.
This Chicago Bulls fan told it to me like this, because I'm a Lakers fan, and Magic, but I went through the Jelly Bean years, and he goes, the difference between Jordan and Jelly Bean is the Bulls will be down 7 with 2 minutes to go, and know they're gonna win. The Lakers, y'all will be up 7 with 2 minutes to go, and still not sure if y'all gonna pull it out.
All right. Anyway, Michael Jordan was on teams that lost more than he won.
That man perfected his skill set, man. This is a dude who knew you could not beat this guy, man. You could not win. You could not win a game.
Lots of players beat him one-on-one. Lots of players won games against him. Teams
Man,
that
when I was in high school, if the Bulls lost a game, we'd be talking about it in school. Yo, somebody beat the Bulls yesterday. Who beat the Bulls? Like it was big news if they lost the game.
Okay, you guys must have talked about it every season because they lost lots of games, and lots of good teams don't lose that many games.
Look, man, when they got going, obviously once my boy left, Magic and Bird left, he had free reign. See, y'all want to act like Reggie Miller was some great. He was cool. He was a little streaky though.
I didn't bring up Reggie Miller.
Huh?
I didn't bring up Reggie Miller.
A lot of guys act like, when they talk about the guys that Jordan beat, they talk about...
When you say Larry Bird and Magic Johnson left and Michael Jordan won, you're not helping Michael Jordan's case. You know that, right? You're saying that they left, so now he started winning. So it makes it easier for him to win because they left.
Correct.
How can he be so great to the level you put him if he couldn't win until he left?
And now, once again, we are seeing the ultimate Jedis of basketball perform at the highest level. Magic and Bird went to the finals 3 years.
And how is
to determine the greatest of all time. And that's who Jordan studied under. That's who he had to play against. By the time he got to the 90s, man, nobody could deal with him because look what he had to go through.
Lots of players dealt with him. What are you talking about? Lots of players dealt with him. There was players who won the MVP over him.
Oh yeah, but they didn't win them finals.
Yeah, because they
didn't win those finals, boy. So that man went through the fire.
How is Shaq supposed to win the NBA Finals if his team is not in the NBA Finals?
Okay. No, for sure. Jordan played 15 years and won 6 years. So clearly he lost more than he won.
Right, and I don't blame him for losing. It's a team that loses and a team that wins.
Hey, look, man, and once again, right? I call Magic the GOAT, and he only went to the finals 9 times. It's how you play, right? It's how you elevate your guys to get there. Yeah, Jordan, for a large percentage of his career, I love to say it, he would rather get clotheslined by the Pistons than pass and make the right play.
Okay, well then how can he be the number one all-around NBA player of all time, and how can he be a top 3 or top 5 NBA player of all time?
Over time, you learn. In life, we learn. We get better. You evolve your game, and eventually, you get to he hit a pinnacle that a lot of guys can get to.
Yeah, right. Lots of players hit lots of pinnacles that lots of guys can't get to. But you're not proving why Michael Jordan should be ranked this high. You're just acting like it should be true.
Well, you're not giving me anybody who's better, so we can compare accolades or at least skill sets or
Why
anything.
would I have to give you anyone? If you claim Michael Jordan is the number one,
Well, you're not giving me anybody who's better than him.
well, I did give you some. So I didn't give you anybody, but I get what you're saying.
I mean, you haven't given me anything.
No,
I mean,
no, you
once
forgot.
again,
I
I
gave you
love
some.
your show, brother, and you are one of the few who actually have an open opinion, and you do have some facts to what you're saying.
I hardly give any opinions. I give mostly facts, logic, reason, and common sense. In fact, you even question me for not giving you much information. I don't give lots of opinions. There's no point in debating opinions because there's no one right and wrong. I give mostly facts and logic, reason, and common sense. But anyway, back to what I was saying earlier.
Well, the facts are Jordan accomplished things that most people didn't.
And lots of players accomplished things that most people didn't. So
no. Michael Jordan got almost all the records. He got, he owned half the records. Him, LeBron, and Wilt, they got all the records.
Wait. Michael Jordan owns half the records? What are you talking about? You made that up again.
I'm making that up. I'm making that up.
All right. But let me get back to what I was saying.
But you understand what I'm trying to say, though, right? Like if you're trying to say T-Mac is as good as Michael Jordan, or Allen Iverson is as good as Michael Jordan, like that's just.
I never said.
It's not an opinion. That's just a no.
I never said those.
There are some facts of the game. You know what I mean? And you haven't divulged any of the guys that you hold in high
by the way,
reverence.
It's not that I never told you anyone was better. I gave you some players who were better. You forgot, and that's okay. But
no. You didn't name those guys. You didn't say that they were better. You just named some guys who might be. You didn't say who you really thought.
I did say there were some people better, but let's just get past that. When you asked me to name some players, it makes no difference if I name you players or I don't, because if I tell you who's better or I don't tell you who's better, that doesn't mean you're right or wrong. Because if what you have to do is when you make a claim, it's up to you to prove it, and so far you haven't proven it because there is no proof. Think like this, man. Let me think like this. If you say to me, Michael Jordan is the number one all-around NBA player of all time, or you say Michael Jordan is a top 3 or top 5 NBA player of all time, then it's up to you to prove those things. And when you say I need someone to compare him to, you've already done it.
Well, you're saying he's not.
Hang on. If you say I need someone to compare him to, right? You don't need me to give you names because you've already, according to your logic, you've already compared him to you've already compared him to everyone because you've already concluded where he should be ranked.
Yeah, I've compared him to everybody, Jack.
So you don't.
I done crunched the numbers, bro.
Okay, so you don't need me. First of all, you didn't. You just made things up. Okay, so if you've already compared Michael Jordan to all the players, and you've determined where he should be ranked, then it's up to you to prove that he should be ranked where you think he should be ranked.
Now, I'm giving you the proof. Now, you don't like the proof, I guess. I'm telling you facts, right? Just things that put him above other players, right?
You haven't shown
Number
any fact
one
that proves where he should be ranked where you rank him.
This is why I put certain guys above certain guys. When you can accomplish things that no one else can accomplish.
Okay, lots of players can accomplish things that no one else can accomplish.
No, we're talking about winning, bro. This is about winning and losing. What do you boys say? We play to win the game. At the end of the day, we're trying to win.
Yeah, it's a team game. One guy doesn't do it by himself. He doesn't.
But one guy does make a team better.
One guy doesn't win and lose by himself. Every Hall of Famer makes a team better.
So you saying there's not a guy who's the best player on the team?
Sometimes there's not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
one
guy doesn't win and lose.
Are you saying Larry Bird clearly wasn't the best guy on the Celtics?
Was he? Yeah, I think. Well, there were some years Robert Parrish was really good, man. It's tough to say, but let me tell you this.
Put it like this. Here's the difference to me.
Hold on. It doesn't matter anyway. Because I have no problem if someone says Larry Bird was the best player or Kevin McHale was, Robert Parrish was, and all that. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter anyway. There's no way to prove that one guy is the best sometimes. And at the end of the day, even if you say I can prove it, because sometimes you can prove that one guy is the best player on a team, at the end of the day, a guy doesn't win and lose by himself. It's a team game.
Yes, but some guys facilitate and make sure that their team is in a position to win.
Right.
That's all.
And the position to win with their team.
So, like for me, right? I really love Larry Bird's game. Hated him when it was going down.
I'm questioning myself.
But over time,
I was questioning myself, by the way, on the Larry Bird thing. I'm like, wait a minute, am I really making the point that there were some years someone was better than Larry Bird? Because on the
Look, brother, you on your own with that one, Jack.
But you know, I want to be fair and consistent. There might be some years where you can make an argument someone was better than Larry Bird on the Boston Celtics, but I'm not sure. And maybe every year Larry Bird was on the Boston Celtics, maybe he was always the best player on the Boston Celtics.
To me, the difference between Bird and Jordan would be something like, because we're talking about greatness, right? The difference was that the Bulls would complain that Jordan was taking all the shots, right? He was a ball hog, he was this, right? So you hear little grumblings, right? The Celtics wanted Bird to take them shots.
Okay.
That's the difference. His teammates needed him and wanted him to take that shot. There ain't nobody complaining that Bird. You're never going to hear a teammate complain that Bird took the last shot.
Okay.
You're going to hear teammates complaining that Jordan was taking too many shots.
Wait, hold on. You got two different things there. One is taking too many shots. Other one is taking the last shot.
Or that one too. Don't get me wrong.
I don't know anyone.
Put it like this. In the Last Dance, Phil Jackson called the timeout and was like, yo, who's open? Right?
Okay.
Phil Jackson got him to pass the ball.
Okay.
So, yeah. Why you think that he was punching guys in the face, right? He punched Steve Kerr. Dudes ain't happy playing with Jordan. You know that. I don't got to tell you that. Come on, man.
Right. Yeah. He was not a good teammate. He was not a good leader.
Come on, man. We already know that. But at the end of the day, once that winning started happening, it smoothed out everything.
No, it didn't smooth out everything. People had problems with them. Robert Parrish had problems with them. For example, Scott Burrell had problems with them. Scottie Pippen had problems with them, and so on.
No, I agree. You know, like I said, at the end of the day, I don't put him at that spot because of a lot of major reasons. But for me to act like that man was not, that's just I can't do that. I can't go that far down the rabbit hole with you, brother. I'll put him at 4, man. Like I said, because
I made a mistake. I don't know if Scottie Pippen had problems with them, so maybe it was a bad example. Maybe he did. I don't know. Steve Kerr had.
Well, he's talking about his game now. I don't know if he has ulterior motives, but he's definitely talking about his game.
I'll replace Scottie Pippen with Steve Kerr. So Steve Kerr had problems with them. But go ahead. What were you saying? You can't rank him as low as I do. What was that?
No, Scottie said that Mike changed the game to a more ball hog style because now kids want to be like Mike. They want to be a ball hog. Okay. So Scottie talks about the change and the evolution and the negative effect.
Okay. So Scottie Pippen doesn't agree with you on lots of things, right?
He doesn't agree with Mike. But at the end of the day, he knows that man was great.
Right.
He's just
and I know
comments on some of the flaws that we're speaking of, that we speak of.
Okay, so
when we splitting these hairs.
Okay, well, you're splitting hairs. And you're doing it for Michael Jordan.
Well, because I don't know where you got him, brother. You don't even have him in the top 5. I catch a lot of slack putting him in the top 3, bro. I can't imagine what you getting. I can't imagine what you get. You got him in the top 50?
Michael, I don't know. Maybe.
He said,
There's lots of great players. Listen, if you have a top 11 list or a top 21 list or a top 31 list or whatever, you got to leave somebody out. Why is it okay to leave other people out but not Michael Jordan?
I mean, look, he was nice, bro. He was nice.
Lots of players were nice.
The dude was nice. I don't know if you've seen him play. That dude was nice.
Lots of players were nice.
Not like him, bro. That boy wasn't as nice as some other people. That boy was special, man.
And other people were special too, man. I know your love for Michael Jordan is there big time, but that doesn't mean you're right about all these things that you're bringing up.
Look, man, that guy. That's what they call a generational talent. You know what I mean?
Lots of players are generation talent. Every time you list something great about them, you can find these kind of things for other players, man. Why do you hone in on Michael Jordan so much?
Because we've seen greatness, and his greatness hit a higher peak than most other people's greatness.
And you could say the same thing about lots of players.
Again, no, you can't.
Yes,
no, you can't.
Yes, you can.
You can't say this about this. Not about this. It's like, you've seen a lot of dudes do karate, but everybody ain't Bruce Lee, boy. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't got that 1-inch punch.
And Bruce Lee ain't the only guy who was good at karate.
I mean, look, this dude's doing the 1-inch punch now. I'll tell you that.
I don't know much about karate anyway. But anyway, there's lots of players who had a great peak, who have good records, who have good statistics and all that. You're just honing in on Michael Jordan over and over.
Well, Mike does have the rings. Once again, name me a player that you put on that level.
Okay, sure. But what does rings have to do with anything? It's a team game. Now, I'll name a player if you want.
You're talking about, because you're saying everyone is done what Michael Jordan is doing. Why are we talking about him?
I didn't say
and I'm like, bro, you got to tell me that there's a lot of guys.
I never said that. I never said everyone's doing what Michael Jordan's doing. I'm saying lots of players.
When you got 6 rings, come on, bro. You know 6 rings, big dog.
How does you keep going in a circle to rings? I don't know why you keep doing this. One guy.
It does mean something.
Not to rank players, it doesn't. It means nothing. You should never use
Tom Brady. Hold on. Tom Brady having 7, 8 rings don't mean nothing.
I don't know much about football, but I do know that you shouldn't use rings to
He said Tom Brady. Who's Tom Brady?
No, I know who he is. I'm saying you shouldn't use rings to rank players. Rings mean nothing to rank players. Nothing to rank players.
They're a part of it. They are a part of it, man. I don't care what Chuck say. I don't give a dang what Chuck say, man. You gotta. It's a part of it. It ain't the biggest piece, but it's a part of it, bro.
Then prove it to me. How is it a part of it?
We played to win the game.
We played to win the game, not one guy.
Well, somebody's the best player on that team.
Okay, and somebody is the best player on a team that lost.
Well, he was the best player on teams that won enough times.
And he was the best player on a team that lost lots of times.
That's okay, because most guys haven't won as many times as he has.
And some guys have. And some guys
not
can't.
Too many, but no, there aren't too many that have, though. Okay, but that's the thing.
But that's not because of him. It's because of him and his team.
He had Phil Jackson. Let's keep it real. It was Phil Jackson.
Okay, then you're contradicting yourself. Give the credit to Phil Jackson if you want to. Why are you giving? I'm not saying you should. I'm saying, why are you saying it's Phil Jackson and then giving the credit to Michael Jordan?
Once again, his skill set. To deny his skill set. His passion for wanting to win. Not everybody wants to win as bad as he does, bro.
No one is denying his skill set. Lots of players have a passion to win. Lots of players want to win. There's no way out of this, man.
You hating on your boy, man.
I'm not hating on him. You're loving him a lot. You're loving him way too much. Actually, it's okay to love him. You're loving him way too much.
Man, nobody's ever accused me of that, man. Nobody's ever accused me of that, man. You take that back.
Well, it's the same kind of logic, right? I'm just turning it around to you. It's a team game, man. At the end of the day, one guy doesn't win and lose. But if you're going to go by rings anyway, you're going to have a lot of contradictions.
Look, man, once again, there aren't a lot of guys with 6 rings. There's just not.
I don't understand if you're not, you just don't care, or you're ignoring it, you just, you don't want to know, or what?
Because you act like, all right. So you're saying it's 60.
A lot of contradictions.
So, all right. Who do you give most of the credit to for the win? The player or the coach?
There's no such thing as who gets more credit. It's a bunch of people coming together, making it happen. I don't give more credit or less credit to anyone. They're all important. Now, who do you give more credit to?
All right, I'll put it to you like this. The Lakers won this one championship, right?
You make it seem like it's a player,
Magic Johnson,
coach.
Magic Johnson gave this speech to the team, not Pat Riley. Magic Johnson gave this speech. Pack one suit, right? We going on the road. We gonna win the first game. Just pack one suit, right?
Uh-huh.
Later on, Pat Riley was the coach of Miami Heat, and when they won, right, Miami that year with D-Wade and Shaq, he gave them that speech, that pack once, right? That shit had the whole team pumped up, right?
I don't really know about this, but okay.
I know. I'm giving you the history of the game. I told you I would.
Uh-huh.
And so, that was the speech that got everybody all pumped up, right? Because it's very important to win. Once you win, now you have the roadmap to the title, right?
The guy who gives the history of the game that doesn't count lots of years of the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Say that again?
The guy who goes by the history of the game and doesn't count lots of years in the NBA.
I'm counting all the years.
No, you don't count all the
So
years.
this team, once now D Wade and Shaq, now they got the map, right? Magic gave it, they gave him the speech to Pat Riley. Now Pat Riley's giving it. Now LeBron comes over there because he needs the roadmap. He needs the map to the finals and how to win. So he goes over there so he can go soak it up from D Wade.
He
And
went there to have a roadmap?
Hmm?
He went there to get the roadmap?
yeah,
Oh, okay. He couldn't figure out how to win until he got there?
correct.
You mean he had a better team?
No, he needed that roadmap.
No, he didn't need any roadmap. He just had it.
And then once he had the roadmap, then he took the roadmap somewhere else now because now he had the roadmap.
There's no roadmap. It's just a better team, man.
Isaiah Thomas. Now, once again, you're going to dispute me. I'm only giving you the history of the game. This is not my opinion.
Okay.
Isaiah Thomas talked about how he would go to the Laker locker room. After he lost to them Celtics, he would go in the Laker locker room and learn how to win, the speed of the game, the tempo, all of these things, the roadmap that he got from the Lakers.
Magic Johnson won in his first year.
Yeah, that's why I got him number one.
Right, but that's because he had a better team. It helps to learn, it helps to get experience, it helps to get advice.
Now look at Bird.
But at the end of the day, you need a good team to win.
Look at Bird. Bird was on the worst team.
He was? Okay.
The biggest turnaround from 29 wins to 61 wins. They something like that. They had the biggest turnaround in NBA history.
Are you saying it's because of Larry Bird?
Are you saying it's not?
Okay. I'm down with you, man.
I mean, come on, big dog. Like, throw me a bone. Sometimes I think you're just pulling my leg.
No,
I know you're trolling me, big dog. I think you're trolling me, big dog. You just want me to go. You want me to lose mine. Just lose it on air. And I'm trying to be all respectful. You know, I'm West Coasting, baby. I'm cool. I'm cool, baby. I'm enjoying time, baby.
All right. So anyway, I'm not trolling you. I'm not pulling your leg. I'm not joking around.
You're trolling me, man. Come on, dog.
Man, but I mean, I'm. You set it up. You bring up the points. I follow up. You set them up. I knock them down. You know.
You said just a follow up question, brother. Just a follow up. Don't shoot me.
So there's no. I'm not gonna shoot you. Come on, man. But anyway, I know you're joking, man. It's still, it's still too. I'm against violence. But anyway, if you're gonna talk about Larry Bird made the team better when he got there, so when Michael Jordan left, the Chicago Bulls again only won 2 less games.
Now, once again, but there's still a difference between winning and losing. Even though they only lost 2 less games in the regular season and the playoffs.
Can I guess the difference? The difference is if it helps Michael Jordan, that's good. If it goes against Michael Jordan, that's bad. And if it helps,
keep in mind. I agree with you as far as he was on a good team.
No, if it helps another player, that's bad. If it helps another player, that's good. No, wait, hold on. No, I made a mistake. If it helps another player, that's bad. If it goes against another player, that's good.
I get it. You got to have a good team for sure. You got to have a team, but
are you sure you get it?
There's still got to be a superstar. Don't get me wrong. You get the Detroit Pistons, right? That Larry Brown team, right? That was God blessing Larry Brown after coaching AI. God had to bless that man with a ring.
Okay.
So, yeah, maybe that one team didn't really have a superstar per se. They were the epitome of what you're talking about.
Every team, whether they're good or bad, has a star on the team.
Well, that team, they were literally a team.
Every team has a main guy, a go-to guy, a star, and all that.
All right. Well, okay, I thought you was acting like I was tripping.
No, but that doesn't mean anything if they have a main guy or not. They're not. The main guy is not going to win by himself and lose by himself. It's a team game, which you admitted, but then you flip-flop and you act like one guy wins and one guy loses.
Because you can lose again. Yes, you can lose it. You can blow it for your team.
No, you cannot. The game is not decided at the end.
Yes, it is. I've seen Kobe do it plenty of times.
No, it's not.
Hijack games that we already winning, trying to take over games that we already winning.
He can't take over if he doesn't have a good squad to back him up. Injuries.
That's what he tell you. Said you give him an excuse to not pass the ball.
That's what everyone knows basketball.
Nah, he should have passed the ball. Shoot it again.
Anybody who knows basketball will tell you the same thing. Only Michael Jordan fans and people who learn from them tell you different things.
Well, you agreeing with that logic is seeping into you, right? Because Magic and Bird will find and make their teammates better. They're not gonna. Their excuse ain't gonna be, "Oh man, ain't nobody here, so I had to shoot it every." Man, they gonna make the right play.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. Usually for the Celtics, giving the ball to Larry was the right play.
Okay. And Michael Jordan is not. I mean, and you shouldn't rank Michael Jordan so high.
Well, once again, I just got to know who you putting above him. You know, maybe you might say some names that could jog my memory, but
I'll tell you
off the top,
I'll give you some names. But I just want to point out again before I give you the names. All right, it makes no difference if I give you names or not because you make the claims. It's up to you to prove them, and you haven't proven them because there is no proof. And also, I want to bring up to you, since you already decided where to rank him, that means that supposedly you've already compared him to all the players. So if you did that, you should be able to prove why he should be ranked that high. But anyway, so you want me to give you some names? I'll give you some names. How many names you want?
3.
Okay. How about 4? Is 4 good?
Wait, say that again?
How about 4? Is 4 good?
4 is good, and it can't be Magic and Bird.
Okay, fair enough. And I gave you Magic and Bird earlier. Remember you told me I didn't name any players? I gave you those guys earlier. All right, here's 4 guys who are better than Michael Jordan. Here they are in no particular order. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Hakeem Olajuwon, Wilt Chamberlain, and let's see, I'll give you one more, spicing it up, David Robinson.
Okay. Nah, you're wrong.
Okay, how am I wrong?
Why is Wilt? I can factually tell you why Wilt is not above Michael Jordan.
Oh, factually? Well, I'm down with facts.
There we go. Now, if there was a Mount Rushmore,
I'm excited.
Wilt is not on it. He might be holding the Mount Rushmore.
Is that a fact too?
Wilt can be holding the Mount Rushmore, but he's not one of the faces on there.
Why? Because you say so?
Because Wilt was a ball hog.
And what do you think Michael Jordan was?
At the end of the day, hold on. Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson got Michael Jordan to play enough team ball to win.
And
Wilt Chamberlain won 1 ring. Hold on, this is the facts of the game.
No, these are not facts. Wilt Chamberlain was not a ball hog. That's not a fact. And he was also a team player.
I'm going to give you the facts of the game, and you tell me if I'm wrong.
All right, I'm excited. Facts.
Wilt Chamberlain won 1 ring. I'm not done. Wilt Chamberlain was a ball hog. He won 1 ring. That 1 ring did not justify how great he was. When he got traded to the Lakers were still losing. Eventually, he finally decided to play team ball because that team was on his tail trying to get him to play team ball. He finally did it because that 1 ring did not tell the story of how great he was, and he knew that 1 ring wasn't enough. And that's how he got the 2nd ring.
So before he didn't play team ball, and then all of a sudden he played team ball. And what magical year was
Correct.
this? What magical year was this?
The year that they won.
Okay, so he decided to play team ball in 1972?
Yep.
Okay, but didn't he win a ring before 1972?
1 ring. Like I said, he won 1 ring, but to be as great as Wilt Chamberlain was, the most dominant player we've ever seen, this guy was a Harlem Globetrotter. He was everything. 1 ring was not enough.
To who?
To him and to everybody around him. That's why he was getting talked about.
Okay, so if you want to talk about what he thinks, he basically said that Bill Russell is not better than him because he has more rings, and he basically made the point 1 guy doesn't win a ring by himself. It's a team game. So if you want to go by what he said those things. What about those things?
Are you trying to tell me that the Lakers did not go to Wilt Chamberlain and tell that man he needs to play a different style of basketball?
They were hoping for him to sacrifice his game. And
did he do that?
And all he did was sacrifice what they wanted, the scoring. The rest of his game was the same.
Once again, he had to play more team ball and not just worried about his numbers.
Right, but that's because they had.
We know Wilt was worried about his numbers. They tell you Wilt would correct the statistician at the game.
Every Hall of Famer pays attention to their numbers, including your boy Michael Jordan.
Shaq 28-13.
Including your boy Michael Jordan. Let me tell you what Michael Jordan.
Hold on, but my boy Magic Johnson wasn't.
Everyone pays attention to their numbers, man.
Magic Johnson, yeah. How many victories we got? That's the number he was looking at.
Yeah, Magic Johnson.
Magic ain't complaining about that he's not scoring 20 points.
That's what he said. Magic Johnson cares more about the winning rings. He didn't care about finals MVPs, statistics, and all that. He says these things, and overall, I believe him. But at the end of the day, if you're going to act like he doesn't look at his numbers at all, I mean, that's just you're just being, assuming things.
I don't think so because the winning the ring is the only one that because Magic knows if you win the ring, that's the only thing that matters.
Even if I'm wrong,
you get to walk around as a champion for your whole year.
Even if I'm wrong, most Hall of Famers still check their statistics. It's natural to check.
A lot do because that determines their bread.
I would say most. It's normal to check your numbers, how you doing.
For sure.
Of course, you want to make sure you're doing well. You want to make sure you're getting your contract, your good money, and all that. There's nothing wrong with that. But listen, even if Magic Johnson didn't check his numbers, which is amazing, most players do. So one or two examples doesn't really prove much. It's most players check numbers, including your boy Michael Jordan. Since you want to talk about what Wilt Chamberlain did, let me tell you what Michael Jordan did. They came to Michael Jordan and said, basically, can you, go down with the scoring? You don't need to score as much. And they said, there's no I in team. And he said, yeah, but there's an I in win. He didn't want to sacrifice. He didn't want to sacrifice his numbers that much. He wanted to make sure he scored a certain amount of points. He cared a lot about his statistics.
No, he was a ball hog. He was a ball hog for sure. But unlike Wilt, he turned it around sooner to get those more rings under his belt.
He had a better team, man. I don't know why you keep playing both sides of the fence here.
Once again, the facts are the Lakers wanted Wilt to sacrifice some of his game. He did it, and they won. Those are the facts.
Wilt Chamberlain didn't have to do it if he had a better team.
Possibly, if he would have sacrificed sooner, he might have won more. He was already getting to the finals.
Or possibly he could have sacrificed and never win a ring. Or possibly he could have had the same numbers and win rings. Or possibly he could have been a great football player. All things are possible, but at the end of the day, it's a team that wins and loses.
Okay, so he was already on a good team, right? Okay. Because when he did sacrifice, they won.
Okay,
so that means he already had the team.
And when he sacrificed,
he just had to sacrifice. So that means how many years did they lose because he didn't sacrifice?
Hang on. When he sacrificed, he lost. He lost more times than he won.
He won.
He lost more.
He didn't sacrifice that many times, bro.
Check his numbers. He sacrificed.
He only sacrificed 1 year, probably. Well, the year that they won.
You're again making things up again.
No, I'm not. I'm giving you the history of the game. You're trying to skew it, but the facts are the Lakers asked him.
You're making things up. I'm not skewing things. You're not going by the history of the game. Let me ask you, when did he sacrifice his numbers? Since you're a historian.
Bro, you even said it, that the Lakers asked him to sacrifice his game a little bit.
I don't even remember if they asked him. You were telling me they did, so I was like, okay.
No, they did. They did, and you know it.
No, I don't know.
We know that's just it's not my opinion.
Okay, I'm asking you, when did he sacrifice his game?
That year that they won, 72, you said? Whatever year it was. I don't know the year exactly.
Well, he didn't come
but he was already on that team, which was already a good team, so he had the players.
Wait. So if they won in 1972, you're saying he sacrificed it in 1972, right? You said that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he came to the Lakers before 1972.
Huh?
He came to the Lakers before 1972.
But they didn't win.
But where's your proof he sacrificed it in 1972? And don't take
because they asked him. That's just a fact of the game. This isn't me. This is just a fact of the game. I'm not adding any extra spice to it. No, nothing.
You're not getting me. I'm not asking you to prove the Lakers asked him to sacrifice. I'm asking you, where's your proof they asked him to sacrifice in 1972?
It's documented. These are documented things. Just like when Phil Jackson, now we got it on The Last Dance that Phil Jackson called the timeout, said, Mike, who's open? And he was like, Steve Kerr, whoever it was 6 for 8, and they won.
Check his numbers when he joined the Lakers. They started to go a little bit down compared to the past. He was sacrificing it before that, and they didn't win. And as a reminder,
That's what you're trying to
and
say.
as a reminder, they lost other times too. They lost more times than they won.
Well, let's say, how many years did Will play for?
I don't know.
Let's say he played for 15 years, right? 10 of those years, let's say he was a ball hog. He got one ring.
We're gonna make up random
Five of
things
those
here.
years, he was a team player and he got one ring.
Okay. So you're just proving.
So that means
Just
10
proving
years
my
of being a
point.
ball hog. So that means in 5 years of being a team player, he accomplished as much as he did as 10 years of being a ball
You're
hog.
just proving my point. Whether he sacrifices or not, he can win, he can lose.
But he might have won more if he would sacrifice sooner.
Maybe. You don't know what would happen. There's a lot of variables. You're just simplifying this way too easy. It's not that simple. There's a lot of factors that come into play. It's a team
And
game.
utilizing your team as a guy who believes in team ball, I would think you would agree that that's probably going to win more.
And you're assuming he never utilized his team. You're just focusing
Well-
on scoring. When you're getting the rebounds and you're getting the block shots and you're getting the assists and all that, you're doing a lot of other things to help your team.
So when Russell Westbrook is getting triple doubles, those are great numbers, but is he really helping his team win a game?
No, man. You know what? If you have a player who gets triple doubles, you should say, "Hey there, don't get the points, don't get the rebounds, don't get the assists. Just do less things. It'll help us." I've never heard anyone except Michael Jordan fans criticize players for getting triple doubles.
Magic got triple doubles and they equated to wins. I'm only saying it's how you play the game. So you're simplifying it by just saying that.
It's a rebound.
You know.
When is getting rebounds a bad thing? When is getting assists a bad
No,
thing?
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Will obviously is great, deserves to be mentioned. We did a lot of talking, and so his name needs to come up at some point in time today. For sure.
But you are
But
but when you talk about statistics and you talk about triple doubles and you talk about Russell Westbrook, how he doesn't help his team and all that, you are saying the things they're doing are bad. It's not bad to score.
I didn't say it was bad.
Come on, man. When you talk about how
I said it didn't equate to win. So I'm just saying that sometimes
why didn't it equate
just
to wins?
because you're putting up great numbers, I'm saying
why didn't it
doesn't equate
wins?
to wins
Why
if you're
didn't-
only worried about your numbers.
Why didn't it equate to wins?
Once again, with Russell Westbrook, sometimes guys were thinking that he was more concerned about his numbers.
What is that, bro? You're saying things, but you're not connecting it.
Because getting numbers doesn't equate to winning plays, making winning plays.
Okay, so no matter how many points you get, how many rebounds you get, how many steals you get, and all that, it all goes out the window because you're not doing the plays. What does it even mean? You're simplifying things way too easy. A lot of things need to happen in a game, and the statistics show you lots of things. If a guy is getting points, rebounds, assists, and all that, those are not bad things. Those are good things. You're going to say, I'm not saying they're bad things, but you are acting like they're bad things because when you say, oh, it didn't equate to wins, statistics are not the end-all, be-all, they should have sacrificed their numbers, they should have sacrificed their game earlier and all that, you're holding it against them.
No, because when you watch the game, right? Obviously, I didn't watch Wilt Chamberlain games, right? So I'm not saying that. But when you watch the game, you understand that there's a way to play winning basketball.
Okay, what does that mean? What do you have to do? They get more rebounds, less rebounds, more steals, less steals, more points, less points, more minutes, less minutes?
Maybe it's more screens.
More screens. Okay, all right.
It's just about
now you're listening to yourself.
playing winning ball. It's just about playing winning ball.
They don't know how to do
Some
screens?
guys are just worried about their numbers.
So these professional players don't know how to do screens, and they care about their numbers so much they don't do enough screens?
Are you telling me that all players, once again, some players just worried about offense? AI was only worried about offense. He wasn't worried about defense.
All Hall of Famers do more than one thing. There's no Hall of Famer out there that just does one thing.
They don't do them all as good as Michael Jordan, though.
Well, then you're saying Michael Jordan is the number one. So again, if you're saying he's the number one all-around NBA player of all time, why would you then put him as a top 3 or top 5 NBA player of all time? He should be the number 1 NBA player of all time.
The greatest player of all time, played all 5 positions.
But then
Won the Finals MVP as a rookie.
Michael Jordan
went to 9 Finals in 12 years.
Bro, listen to what you're saying.
Beat the best.
Michael Jordan.
When the game was the toughest. That's why Magic is the number 1.
Michael Jordan is the number 1 all-around NBA player of all time, and then you put him as a top 3 or top 5 NBA player of all time. If Michael Jordan is the number 1 NBA all-around NBA player of all time, he should be the number 1 NBA player of all time.
I'm saying this too, that those guys you mentioned, David Robinson was not better than Michael Jordan.
Oh, he was clearly better.
Hakeem was not better than Michael Jordan.
Clearly better.
Hakeem, because once again, these guys played, right? We can all have an opinion, but these guys played, and Hakeem was not winning when Jordan was there.
Again, one guy doesn't win and lose. It's a team game.
It's up to you to make that team good enough.
No matter how good you are, you can't win by yourself.
Once again, Magic.
What should he do?
Pat Riley was gone.
What should he do to make the team better?
When Pat Riley was gone and Kareem was gone,
it's up to you to make
he
the
was
team
back
better.
in the finals with a new squad.
You said it's up to you to make your team better. What should they do? Get more points? Get more rebounds? Get more steals?
I don't know.
What is it?
Win.
How? What do you? It's a meaningless thing to say. How? You have any example? How? You're simplifying things way too much, man. It's not. It's not a video game.
Look, man. Once again, you can say whatever, right?
Even in video games, you gotta do a lot of things.
No, I kind of get what you're saying. Somewhat, I kind of agree with you, but at the end of the day, there's just certain traces that, at the end of the day, I just got to give respect to respect. You know what I'm saying?
That sounds great.
So,
did you have any proof of any of this?
Like, if Kareem's been to 1 finals his whole career, and then all of a sudden Magic come around and he goes to 5 more, damn. What do you want me to say?
How do you know
he's had a whole career to prove himself?
How do you know Kareem couldn't do that if he had someone else? Maybe Magic Johnson doesn't join him, and maybe Larry Bird joins him, and then he wins.
Hey, well, Larry Bird, but maybe not Jordan, because maybe Jordan like, oh, Kareem's too old.
Yeah, so,
right?
Yeah, so you don't know what would happen. At the end of the day, everybody needs somebody to win. Everybody needs somebody sometime, actually all the time, to win. You can't win by yourself, man. I don't get why you're playing both sides of the fence. You say it's a team game, then you go back to act like one guy wins and one guy loses.
Well, one guy gets the credit for getting that team there, even though it's a team game and everybody had to hit some shots.
Who gives them the credit? It's people who give them credit. People can go by whatever they want. Doesn't mean they're right. It doesn't necessarily.
It's like when Steve Kerr tell a story, right? He'd be like, yeah, man, me and Jordan scored 55 that night. Jordan had 52 and I hit the game-winning 3. So, yeah, it took all of them to win that game. But Jordan was the one with 52 points and Steve Kerr had 3.
Clyde Drexler had an interview where he basically said to the guy, if you score 49 points, all right, and at the end of the game I miss 2 free throws, and the team loses, are you still not a great player? Like, it's not one guy. It's a team game.
But at the end of the day, if it's those 2 free throws to win the game, was it the moment was too big for you?
Okay, then you can
take that into consideration.
You can talk about clutch play, but that's not the whole game. That's a clutch moment.
I know, but we're taking everything into consideration because it comes down to winning, right?
So
when Magic found a way to win that game, even though the Bulls was up by 2,
I get what you're saying.
30 seconds
I
to go.
understand what you're saying. First of all, you're not going by everything. You think you are, but you're not. And secondly, even if you really believe you're going by everything, there's no way for you to add everything up and then put a value on each thing and then compare everyone and then figure out who's the number 1 NBA player of all time. Or 2 or 3 and so on. You're just assuming a lot of things and cherry picking things and contradicting yourself and things like that.
The history of the game says that nobody was able to win a back-to-back until Magic did it.
We're going back to this now. There were,
These.
it's,
I know. I'm simplifying it, but I'm only telling you the story of the game. It's not my opinion.
no, it's first of all, it's not. I'm not saying it's an opinion. It's not even a fact. It's not even. It's not true.
It is a fact.
No,
It is
it's
a
not
fact.
a fact. I told
These
you.
are facts of the game. I'm only telling you the facts.
Then I'm not sure what you think a fact is. These are not all facts.
The Lakers said to Will Chamberlain to tone it down.
Well, you're going to
and
something
they've
else
won.
now. Let's go one
That's
at
a
a time.
fact. These are just facts, bro. This is not my opinion. It's just
You're
proof
going to
points.
something else. Let's go one at a time here. Again, Magic Johnson was not the first to win back-to-back. Other people have done it. And also
Talking
one
about the
guy,
Celtics.
and also one guy doesn't win and lose. Go ahead.
We're not including that Celtic era, bro.
You're
You
not
know that.
including that. You're not
You know
including
that.
it. Well, are you talking about all time or some years that you want to go by?
I'm talking about everything after that Celtic era. Okay, because you know Bill Russell's not in this conversation.
For you, Michael Jordan.
For anybody, Bill Russell's not in this conversation.
For anybody, there's lots of people who have Bill Russell in this conversation.
Okay, yes, for sure. I did not. The reason why I disqualify that era is, once again, no shot clock.
Bill Russell didn't have a shot clock?
Not too many guys that were 7 feet tall. There wasn't a lot of 7-footers back then.
Nothing you're saying. Bill Russell had a shot clock. Bill Russell had 7-foot tall players. I don't know. Do you know the average height when he was in the NBA, what it was? And the average height when Michael Jordan was in the NBA? Go check the average height. It was 1 inch difference.
That's a good one. Okay. Well, you bring in a little something.
About a lot of things, man.
You brought a little something, big dog. You brought a little something, man. I'm over here, man. I'm working overtime, man.
You are way too into Michael Jordan. You haven't done enough research.
You want me to teach class tonight, man? Come on.
You're influenced by the media about him and so on.
No, man. I'm giving you the real, even through the media smokescreen. There's a certain amount of credit that he does deserve, bro.
You're really into Michael Jordan. You're influenced by the media, and you know you have a bias for him. I know you can say that being into him and having a bias for him sounds like the same, but it's two differences. One is you're really into him. And maybe it's the same thing. I don't know. Let me try this again. Okay, hold on.
Hold on, bro. It's a fact David Robinson's not better than Michael Jordan.
Before we get to that fact.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
All right, I heard you the first 3 times, whatever number you said it.
I'm busting your chops.
I'm saying you're too into Michael Jordan. You're influenced by the media about Michael Jordan. You haven't done enough research on the NBA, and you're not consistent with your own points. But anyway, so go ahead. If you want to follow up to that or David Robinson thing, whatever,
Please explain to me how David Robinson is as good as Michael Jordan.
Well, explain to me how Michael Jordan's better than him.
There's no doubt about it.
Well, then if it's a fact and there's no doubt about it, you should be able to prove it simply, right?
The Bulls teams dominated that era. Like David Robinson had a good team. He was not winning when those Bulls were around.
I don't understand. You talk about Michael Jordan versus David Robinson, then you go to teams.
Because once again, right? If you're going to say David Robinson, that means he's got to lead his team over Michael Jordan's team. And he was not doing that. Michael Jordan's teams were winning, and David Robinson's teams was not.
What does that even mean, lead a team to win? What does that even mean?
You got to be the best player on a winning team.
Okay, how do you be the
David Robinson had a good team.
So for example,
it's not like he didn't have a team, so that means now y'all got to win.
So how is someone else supposed to be the best player on a team that wins if the team is not good enough to win?
The Spurs were good enough to win.
No, they weren't. That's why they didn't win every year.
Well, clearly they weren't good enough to win because they didn't.
They didn't win every year. Only if they were the best, they would have won. They were not the best.
And even now, keep in mind when they went on their run, that was after Jordan left. And even as great as they were, they never even won a back-to-back.
I don't know what the point of telling me is when they won, because Michael Jordan won, according to you. You brought this up earlier when Larry Bird and Magic Johnson won. Secondly, I mean that's not his fault. Thirdly, one guy doesn't win and lose, and fourthly, I don't even. There's a lot of other. I mean, do you use the same ring argument for the number 2 NBA player of all time and 3 NBA player of all time and so on? No, you don't. You just go by whatever you want, whatever you like. Anyway, David Robinson was better than Michael Jordan.
Once again, we can have an opinion, right? But these guys played.
What opinion? I haven't given you any opinion in general.
Oh,
I don't mean
I know you
literally.
haven't.
I don't mean
But I
literally. I
put it
mean
like
in
this,
general. I
right?
don't.
So when Jordan fans put Jordan over Bird, right?
You haven't given some opinions either, by the way. You made some claims.
I'm just stating the facts of the game.
No, you're not stating all facts. You're making
So,
claims.
like the
You're
facts
not
of the
proving
game is
them to be
that
true.
Bird, right? These are the facts of the game. You tell me if this isn't true. Did Jordan beat Bird in any playoffs?
No,
Facts of the game, right?
that's not a fact. Jordan doesn't play him one-on-one.
Okay, his team.
But there's a big difference, right? Why keep acting like one guy wins and one guy loses? It is a team game. It's a very basic concept for basketball.
Because Jordan would rather be a ball hog than to make the right play.
He was always a ball hog.
Phil Jackson got him to play enough team ball to win.
He was still a ball hog.
We saw it in The Last Dance.
He was still a ball hog.
It's not that the Bulls don't want their best player to be their best player.
Same thing with Wilt
They
Chamberlain.
just want him to make the right play sometimes, right?
with Wilt-
Isaiah Thomas has said it plenty of times. They weren't playing championship ball.
They weren't good enough to win. It's not when
No, they were not playing the right. Yeah, they're not good enough to win. Jordan would rather go in there and get clotheslined than to pass to the open man.
Listen, you're just no matter what he does.
That's what Isaiah Thomas said.
There's no matter what.
That's what they're telling you. All they had to do is make him go left.
Well, first of all, if you're
Because they know he's not going to pass. The fact that's a weakness in your game. The fact that they had Jordan rules, that's a clear weakness in his game. The fact they already knew that he wasn't going to do something.
One thing at a time here. No matter how good Michael Jordan is, man, he's not going to win a game by himself. Next, when you say Isaiah Thomas said this, lots of players say lots of things. Do you go by everything? Like, for example, Michael Jordan basically said he's not the number one NBA player of all time, and you shouldn't use rings to rank players. Isaiah Thomas basically said that he beat all of them. He beat Magic Johnson. He beat
exactly.
Larry
So
Bird,
and that just lets you know that Isaiah Thomas believes that he's probably the GOAT.
Isaiah Thomas also admits one guy doesn't win and lose by himself. It's a team game and so on. You're just going by whatever you want, whenever you want.
Well, we got to give one guy the credit. Obviously, we're not going to give.
Why?
If you want to, so all right then.
Why?
So what's the greatest team of all time?
I don't know. How do you figure it out?
You tell me.
There's no way to
This
figure it
is
out.
a team game.
There's no way to figure it out. It's a team game, right? But that doesn't mean you can rank. You have to rank them.
Nah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's a tougher one, but just we would to make
Actually,
it
I would
fun. We
think
got to
that'd
give
be
the credit
easier.
to one guy. I think it's just about. Of course, you're right as far as it's a team game, and at the end of the day, you can make the right play, and if the guy misses the shot, the guy misses the shot. But if he misses the shot, was it the right play?
Okay, but that's just clutch play and right decision making, and being
Everything matters.
I don't know, a good leader, good team player. None of this goes back to why you should use rings to rank players.
Because at the end of the day, once again, just for the sake of argument, we got to give the credit to somebody so we can have this argument.
No, you don't have to give credit to somebody to have this argument.
Then what are we going to talk about?
There's lots of things we could talk about. There's so many topics. I mean, and at the end of the day, I mean, if you're going to give these arguments, have some proof that you're right. But you don't have proof because there is no proof. And then also,
I'm giving you the proof, man. I'm giving you the
and
proof.
then some of the stuff you guys go by, you're going to have a lot of contradictions.
So put it like this. Kareem. Now, don't make me do this, man. I love Kareem, man. That's my captain, man. That's the cap right there, all right? So don't make me do this, man.
You love Kareem, huh? Who's better, Michael Jordan or Kareem?
I struggle with that one. Between Kareem, Jordan, and Isaiah Thomas, I'll be blowing in the wind with that one.
I got to question your love for Kareem. If you can't figure out who's better between Michael Jordan and Kareem, you don't love Kareem as much as you claim.
Because it's not about who I love, man. It's about me just keeping it real, bro.
If you're keeping it real and you can't figure out who's better between Michael Jordan and Kareem, you ain't keeping it real.
Look, so at the end of the day, right? It's a team game, right? You keep saying teams win the game, right?
You really don't know who's better between Michael Jordan and Kareem, though?
I don't. I don't. I that's why I always post the same thing. And I start off by saying Kareem. And I go by and I'll be like Isaiah. But sometimes I'll just leave it in Jordan. But I always start off with, because, man, I don't know. Maybe it's Kareem. But here's what I'm trying to say.
See,
when you talk about a team
one
game,
of the reasons you don't know is because you're going by a bunch of things that you shouldn't be going by.
No, I'm going to give you this. No, I'm going by what I'm about to tell you right here. Kareem, we know, was a surly dude. He wasn't the best at creating a team environment.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We know that Kareem was to himself, right? We've seen the movie. If we didn't already know,
you're not saying Michael Jordan was a better leader and team player than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
No. Here's what I'm trying to say, right? Why Magic would be above Kareem, right? Because we know that Magic created great team chemistry. Created great teamwork.
But I don't really care about comparing Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I want to know about Michael Jordan.
Jordan, at the end of the day, he did enough. He did enough team ball to win it all.
Yeah, based on what he had. Other players can do just as much or more, but they're not going to win if their team is not good enough.
No, because what we're saying is that you can have the hand, but you just don't play it right.
All players don't have the same hand.
Right?
You're comparing...
Jordan fans always say that he didn't have nobody. He didn't have nobody. Soon as Scottie became an all-star, right? So Scottie had to play 3 years before Jordan won, let's say, right? Whereas Bird was winning with these dudes as rookies, damn near, right? He was winning with Kevin McHale and these dudes fresh out of college. They didn't have to be 3-4 years. Right, they wasn't the greatest front court of all time yet. They was becoming that.
So you basically rank Michael Jordan so high based on 6 years, and you ignore all the other years where where you find him questionable.
Because whatever player you're saying didn't win 6 rings.
No, but I'm saying 6 years, man. You're ranking him so high, and you're ignoring all the years
that he hit is something that your guy never hit. Will Chamberlain never hit that high.
No, you're right. He hit higher than Michael Jordan, much higher.
No, he didn't. He didn't win 3 in a row.
Again, man, one guy.
Those are just the facts of the game.
One guy.
Something that nobody else can do. Something that nobody else can do. No, Michael Jordan did it 2 times.
You keep talking about this like it's a guy going in something winning by himself. He's not winning by himself.
One guy's getting the credit for the sake of argument. For the sake of the argument,
gives him the credit?
One guy got to get the credit. Michael Jordan
why does he have to
took that last shot with his hand hanging in the air.
That's talking about a clutch situation, and again, it's going to also be based on his team. He can't make clutch shots if he doesn't have a good team backing him up. It also depends on his opponent and injuries and coaching, etc., 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 etc. You're just acting like it's a guy going in a jungle fighting all the animals or something by himself.
At the end of the day, Michael Jordan made that steal on Karl Malone. Right? Karl Malone's supposed to go down there and get that bucket. Jordan made that steal, and then Jordan came down and hit the shot. What you want me to say?
Let's go by that example. When Michael Jordan gets the steal from Karl Malone wasn't just looking at Michael Jordan. He's looking at other players, making sure they don't get the ball. He's looking where his teammates are. He's trying to find out the situation.
You can make excuses.
It's not excuses. You're giving Michael Jordan way too much credit. Michael Jordan can do what he does partly because
it's hard to win.
Because of the team that he has around him. When Michael Jordan is going one-on-one against the guy he made the shot against, Byron Russell, it's not because he's just playing him one-on-one. He has other people spreading the floor, other defenders guarding those guys. There's
for sure.
He knows if he gets
for sure,
team, he can pass the ball and all that. Well, you say for sure, but then you keep acting like he did it by himself.
I mean, at the end of the day, we gotta simplify it for conversation. You know what I'm saying?
No, we don't gotta simplify.
I get into the details. I do get into the details. I broke down games as far as I've given you examples of how Jordan was 0 for 5 and Bird was 5 for 5.
Your breakdowns
that was the difference in
the
scores. I've broken down games, literally how things have gone down. I'm talking about how the game is played.
I followed up to lots of your points. And I followed up to lots of your points. A lot of things you're wrong about, and you're contradicting yourself on. Not kind of. I followed up to lots of your points.
you haven't just you're just saying that we can't give somebody all the credit. That's the only thing you're saying. But at the end of the day,
I've said more than that, and
one guy does get most of the credit for a team winning.
And you've acknowledged,
and we're talking about the one guy.
And you've acknowledged it's a team game, and you've acknowledged other factors come into play. And yes, people give credit, but that doesn't make them right. Why would you go by people as if that proves they're right?
Are you saying Michael Jordan wasn't the dominant force on that Bulls team?
Oh, he was a dominant force on his Bulls team. But that doesn't make him better than George Gervin, who's not even on the same team. George Gervin can't be the best player on the Chicago Bulls on the years where he's not on the Chicago Bulls. I know he joined them at some point.
For sure, a guy like George Gervin isn't going to get
you can't say, look, you can't say Michael Jordan's better than David Robinson because Michael Jordan was the best player on the Chicago Bulls. David Robinson is not on the Chicago Bulls. They got two different teams.
At the end of the day, you got to build around a guy and win.
Okay.
The Bulls were able to build around Jordan and win.
And no, they lost. Well, yeah, they won sometimes. They lost more times than they won.
They won more than most people have ever won, though.
And by the way, if they built around him, give credit to the people who built the team.
I'm with you. I'm with you as far as...
I don't think you're with me.
You know, as far as this man is human and he has lost. That's why I don't have him number one.
I don't even blame him for losing.
To act like his accomplishments are nothing is crazy.
I didn't say his accomplishments are nothing. I'm saying that they don't mean anything to rank players. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying his accomplishments don't mean anything. I'm saying they don't mean anything to rank players. Like the rings part. The rings part.
Philadelphia built a team around Allen Iverson.
Uh-huh.
Right? Now, none of those guys could score. They was all there to play, but the point is that team was built around AI.
I don't even know if that's true. None of those guys can score, but okay, go ahead.
Come on, bro. All of them dudes was there to play defense.
Okay, so when the 76ers score 100 points, Allen Iverson scores, what, 90 points?
Probably 98.
No,
shit.
Right. At the end of the day, man, there's no way there's no way out of this. One guy doesn't win and lose, man. It's a team game.
No doubt about it. There's no dispute in that statement.
And you're ranking Michael Jordan way too high when it comes to all the NBA players who ever played in the NBA.
So why did they win 6 rings and he did it and everyone else didn't?
Part of the
Bulls
reason,
were that much. His team was that much better. Everyone else around him was that much better than everybody else.
No. When the Chicago Bulls won 6 rings, he scored most of the points and got most of the rebounds and got most of the steals and all that.
Okay, then. So what are we saying?
Just in case you don't know, I'm being sarcastic. So when you ask why did they win,
because he scored all the points, got all the rebounds, and steals. Man, what you want?
So when you ask why did they win, it's because they were the best team, and of course injuries, coaching, a bunch of other factors. And when you go, how come no one else did it? When you ask, how come they won, other teams didn't win? It could be a lot of reasons. Teams, coaching, injuries, all that. I know you get this. I just don't know why you won't let it go.
Nah, because you hating on Jordan, man. You hating on Jordan. You don't want to give him credit, man. And it's hard to win 1 ring.
I'm not hating on Michael Jordan. You Michael Jordan fans are always accusing people of hating on Michael Jordan. You're just loving him a lot. And you haven't proved. You have no proof that I hate Michael Jordan.
If you can't acknowledge that 6 rings is something big.
In terms of what?
I don't know what else to say.
Big in what way? It's big. In what way do you mean it's big?
It elevates your stature.
To who?
To anybody watching the game.
Anybody?
Yes.
No, not anybody.
Yeah.
No.
When you do it the way he did it.
There's lots of people
that elevate your stature.
No, there's lots.
Put it like this.
No, there's lots of people
if they
who don't
never won 1 ring,
NBA players.
If they only won, let's say they didn't win any rings.
Before we get to that, you said to anybody. I'm telling you, there's lots of people who don't go by rings to rank NBA players. You know
If
that.
he has 0 rings, we wouldn't be talking about
But
him.
you said to anybody. You know that's not true, right?
If he has 0 rings, will we be talking about
As a
him?
reminder, they called him the number one NBA player in the NBA, and they gave him an MVP, and they called him the number
Put it
one.
like this.
Hold on. And
If
they,
he
ca- and
never
they call,
would have
hold
won,
on, hold on,
that conversation would have died.
hold on. And they called him the number one NBA player of all time when he had 0 rings.
If he never would have won, the conversation would have died.
They called him the number one NBA player of all time when he had 0 rings.
I'm telling you, if he had 0 rings,
You're not getting me, man. If he's
just put it like this. Put it like this, right? They was calling LeBron the best already when he came in because they knew what he was going to do. Same thing with Jordan. They knew what he was going to do.
hardly anyone called him the best of all time when he just came into the NBA. Come on, man.
Hold on. They was already saying LeBron might be the best ever.
There's a difference
At
between
18.
but-
At 18
but
years
there's
old,
a-
they were smiling him like he might
are-
be the greatest of
these
all
are-
time.
these are
For
two-
sure, they were talking
This
about
is
LeBron James like
ridiculous.
that.
These are two
because you
different
can
things
see
here.
it
No,
coming.
this is two different things. One is saying LeBron James.
They can see it coming. They can
I
see
heard
Michael
you.
Jordan
I
doing what
heard
nobody
you.
can
I
do,
heard you.
which is
I
win 2
heard you.
three-peats.
There's a difference between saying LeBron James might be the number one NBA player of all time versus Michael Jordan is the number one NBA player of all time.
Okay, hold on. It's still about what I just said, which is they can see it coming. That's number one. And number two, he's already in the league demonstrating it. So LeBron coming in at a high school, having not even touched the court, right? At least Michael Jordan, he was doing it against the best players of all time. He was scoring 69 points against the Celtics for them to say that.
You were saying about how no one's going to pick someone as the greatest if they have 0 rings. I brought up how they called Michael Jordan the greatest when he had 0 rings. You said it would have died out. And I'm telling you.
It would have died out.
But listen, when they say you already are the number one NBA player of all time, it's done. There's no it can change.
He was not the official king of. He was not the official GOAT.
But that's not the point. You made it seem like no one's gonna do it if they have 0 rings, and I'm showing you they did it. Then you switched it up to saying it's gonna die out, and then I told you, well, no, they've already determined he's the number one NBA player of all time. It's finished. It's done.
No. I'm not disputing what you're saying. The only thing is just that if I make a point, you just can't be like, yeah, that's right. And the point is that
Well, if you're not right, why should I agree with you?
yes,
Right?
they see that he is on his way to being the greatest, and which means
Who, Michael Jordan?
doing something like I say, right?
Now, who are you
Which
talking about?
don't
Michael
give no
Jordan or
credence
LeBron
to.
James?
Magic Johnson did something that nobody could do, which is win a back-to-back. Michael Jordan upped
Unbelievable.
the stakes
Not this
and got
again.
a three-peat, which is something how it is viewed,
Again,
even though you disagree.
Magic Johnson is not the first guy to win back-to-back then, and secondly, one guy doesn't win and lose by himself.
Once again, just because you disagree doesn't mean that I'm not right.
It's not an agree to disagree.
No,
There's
I
no
am
agree to
right.
disagree.
That's why we don't talk about, when I say we, I mean the whole community. Yes, there are pockets, and you can find little
most
pockets,
NBA
but as a
fans?
whole, we don't talk
Most
about that
NBA fans are
Celtic
Michael
era.
Jordan fans then.
It's not about being a Michael Jordan fan. Just a fan. We don't talk about that era because there weren't a lot of teams. It's respect to them, respect to what they did, but we don't talk about that dynasty like that.
Lots of people
So
don't
up
talk about
until
the
then,
past.
so after that
But
dynasty, there was no dynasty in
Let
basketball.
me address that. Lots of people don't talk about the past for a number of reasons, but whatever the reasons are, it doesn't
There was no
mean-
TV.
It doesn't mean they're right.
For the sake of conversation, just for the sake of conversation, that's why we eliminate them.
Who's we?
Just-
It's you Michael Jordan fans who eliminate them.
No, anybody.
No, I've never heard.
90% of people who are talking about who's the GOAT
You made that up
are
again.
not bringing up Bill Russell.
You made that up again. But anyway, just because.
All right, so you tell me, because you have this show and you talk to
Well, yeah,
thousands and millions
there's
of
lots
people.
of- there's
so
lots
how
of-
often do people bring up those old topics?
There's no way to figure that out. There's no way to figure out.
No. Just give me a ballpark.
I would say most Michael Jordan fans most NBA fans are Michael
There
Jordan.
we go.
Most NBA fans are Michael Jordan fans. So most NBA fans, in order to rank Michael Jordan high, they have a history of tearing down Hall of Famers, tearing down eras. What they do, every Hall of Famer who's a threat to Michael Jordan sucks or had a super team or, has bad statistics or whatever. And every era sucks. The 40s suck, the 50s suck, the 60s suck, the 70s suck. Then we skip over the 1980s and 1990s. After Michael Jordan left, the ratings go down. The NBA sucks in the 2000s. The NBA sucks in the 2010s. And today the NBA sucks. Every year sucks for Michael Jordan fans, except for 2 decades, the 1980s and the 1990s. And by the way, the 1980s and 1990s are the number one NBA era of all time. Can you take a guess why? Because Michael Jordan played in that era.
It started off with Magic and Bird.
You think it's a coincidence, man, that Michael Jordan fans tear down every Hall of Famer and every era except Michael Jordan in his era? You think that's a coincidence?
What I'm trying to say is that people have been watching the game for a long time.
What people?
The people who are talking, us, everyone who's talking. So when you've seen something great.
Lots of players are great.
But we're telling you, people who've been watching the game, that this is one of the best right here.
Okay,
Not all
and
of the other people
lots
you're
of
talking
players
about.
are one of the best. There's no way out of this, man. I'm telling you. If you're such a student of the game as you claim, and I question if you are, you should know all this.
Well, once again, I just gave you the facts to the game that elevates people, right? Charles Barkley would have been elevated with a few more rings. That's just that's just what it is.
Elevated by who? Other NBA fans?
Yeah.
And most NBA fans, you think they're reliable?
Well, for me, who I believe I'm reliable, based off of watching the game and why people don't win and lose.
You think you're reliable when you tell me, when you act like one guy wins and one guy loses, when you dismiss the
when I
past
tell you that
NBA,
Magic's to go and Bird's
when you rank
number two,
Michael Jordan as high as you do,
you know that I'm not giving you the same run-of-the-mill opinion.
Oh, I told you earlier, a lot of your takes are right in line with Michael Jordan fans.
Possibly,
I would
they
actually
might
say,
not be wrong about everything.
I think I told you most of your takes are right in line with Michael Jordan fans.
Well, you're talking about David Robinson's better than Jordan.
That's right.
And they played at the same time. So, you can have an opinion, but,
I'm making a claim. I'm not making an opinion. I'm making a claim. And he is definitely better.
But it's factually not true.
Well, you didn't show me how it's factually not true.
It's factually not true.
I heard you. You didn't show me how factually it's not true.
They played.
Okay.
And Jordan's team came out the champion.
And how does that make
That's how we know.
How does that make him factually better?
Because his team won.
How does that make him factually better than David Robinson?
Because his team won. That's why we play the game.
You just repeating yourself. How you got to understand?
We play to win the game.
How does Michael Jordan's team beating David Robinson's team mean that makes? How does that make Michael Jordan factually better than David Robinson?
Because when you go back and watch those games, right, you're going to see Michael Jordan's team was down by 10 points, right? And then you're going to see Michael Jordan hit 5 shots in a row, blocking guys, stealing guys. And then you're going to see it, right? You're just talking. Clearly, you haven't watched any games, and that's cool. You're probably, a lot younger than me. And so, you're of this era. But when you actually watch the games, then you can talk about things.
Okay, so by your
But when you haven't watched the game, you could just be wondering.
Okay, so by your
and just be wondering why everybody just say Michael Jordan? Okay,
so by your
when you watch the game,
I heard you.
You're gonna know why Michael Jordan.
Well, that's not you're just telling me what you believe. You're not proving anything. You're just telling me you watch the games.
You just haven't seen the game. That's all. I get it.
You watch the games, and then you say you didn't watch the games. 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 This is not proof. This is just you coming up with anything that's ridiculous.
No, It's just that you don't have any proof that I'm wrong.
Oh, I do.
You haven't even watched the game.
I do. And by the way, you keep making this assumption I haven't watched the game. You think I can't go on YouTube and watch games right now?
You can. You probably haven't.
Okay, so if
You know what I mean?
so if
And then on
if
top of that, and
let's-
then
hold
on top of that,
let me
you don't
answer that.
understand
Let
the
me-
context of the game.
Let me answer that. Let's assume I haven't watched the games, these magical games, and then I go on YouTube and then I watch them, and I still don't think Michael Jordan better than David Robinson. Then what?
Hey,
Uh-huh.
it's all good.
Okay.
It's all good.
And by the way, you know how you were saying about my age and your age, and you watch games and you know more? By your logic, people who are older than you should know more than you. So they don't agree with you that Michael Jordan is the number one NBA player of all time. And
I didn't put him at one.
and most, oh, fine, you're right, as high as you rank him. And also, most Hall of Famers don't rank him as high as you rank him. So, by your logic, they're older than you, and they watch more games than you, and they.
I
know
would
more
love
players
to
than you and
hear
all
these
that.
old timers because unfortunately, I never hear anyone say anything other than him being the GOAT.
Well then, first of all, you said that you don't pick him as the GOAT. So, do you disagree with them?
I don't know. Most you're saying that they don't even have him top five.
No. You're saying.
I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
Hang on.
Everybody.
Hang on.
I've never heard anybody
do that.
not say
Wait. Listen.
that he's not the GOAT.
No. Listen, man. You said to me most Hall of Famers you've seen pick Michael Jordan as the greatest.
Yeah.
But you also say you don't pick him as the greatest. So
Yeah, that's me.
So
I keep it real.
Wait. So you're not keeping it real because you're contradicting yourself when you told me that I'm probably younger than you and I didn't watch the game and you know more about the game and all that. You're trying to throw out there that you know more, you're older, you got more experience, you know what's up. So now, apply the same logic to them. These guys who are older than you, who know more than you, who watch more games than you, who know what's up and all that.
No, and what I said to that was I would love to hear these guys because I haven't heard any of them, is all I said.
Dude, you don't even know what I'm saying. These guys who are older than you.
Who are these guys? I've never heard anybody say that.
You don't even know what I'm saying. Let me finish the whole thing before you think you know what I'm saying. These guys who are older than you, who watch more games than you, who have more experience than you, who know what's up, they're, according to you, most of these guys pick Michael Jordan as the number one NBA player of all time, but you don't agree with them. You don't pick Michael Jordan as the number one NBA player of all time. So do you see your contradiction?
Well, if they were, now let's say it like this, right?
You're not going to admit you contradict
if they were
yourself.
picking guys from before my era, I would respect it, right? But if you talk about guys that I've seen play, that means now I've been
so you're
here,
not,
and
you're not, you're not
so
going to
now I
admit
have the same knowledge that you have.
Right, so you're not going
and so since I've been watching,
you're not going to admit you're contradicting
Magic
yourself.
was the GOAT.
You're not going to admit you're contradicting yourself. So we're going to skip over this. Let's go to the
Whoa,
next
whoa,
thing.
whoa, whoa.
When
No,
you
because there's a difference from you
Of course.
who hasn't seen something
you don't even know
talking about it
I've
versus
played.
me
You
talking
don't
about
know
something
what
I've seen.
You don't know what I've played and what I haven't played. But anyway,
No.
let's go back.
I don't know what you've seen, but the statement was
to the
that
other thing you were saying
if
that you
they
don't
pick
know.
Michael Jordan,
You said most Hall
right,
of Famers
which
you've
means they're
seen pick
picking a
Michael
guy
Jordan.
who
Most
I've
Hall
seen
of Famers
play, and I've
have
seen
not picked
guys
Michael
better
Jordan.
than him.
You said you know about my first page. If you know about my first page, you should have tons of examples of Hall of Famers who don't pick Michael Jordan as the number one NBA player of all time.
I don't recall too many, bro. Most people, I know
I don't understand when you say you're a fan of my page, you like my page, you know about my page and all that. What videos are you playing?
I'm not saying I've seen all your videos, bro. Unfortunately, I don't spend a great amount of time on this things. Out of the few things that I do watch, I can say I've seen some of your stuff, bro.
I'm not saying that. I didn't say you have to play every video. If you know about my page and you like my page and you're a fan of my page and all that, I would assume you've played lots of videos. So if you have, you should know.
I've seen for sure more than 10 of your videos.
If you should know that there's lots of NBA Hall of Famers who don't pick Michael Jordan as the number one NBA player of all time. Now, if you've only played more than 10, that's not a lot, but I guess it depends on what you mean by more than 10. You know, more than 10 could be what? A lot of numbers.
I mean, it could be a lot of numbers, and everything is relative. right? You don't know, depending on how much one person is on, spending time. One person, you might be imagining people being on there all day. Whereas one person might only be on there a little bit,
In any case,
and so for them to
you know,
even see your stuff
in any
out
case,
of the,
in any case,
that's still a compliment.
in any case, what was that? I missed the last part.
I was saying, for someone to not be on there that often and to still find your videos, that's still a compliment to you.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Now, in any case, whether you know my page or you don't, or like my page or you don't, or play lots of my videos or you don't, and so on and so on, at the end of the day, man, I would think since you know a lot about the NBA and you study the game and you do a lot of, you have a lot of information and you do a lot of, you're a historian, wouldn't you know that most NBA Hall of Famers don't pick Michael Jordan as the number one NBA player of all time?
No, man, it's hard to hear anybody say anything other than that's the GOAT. Even my two guys, Magic and Bird, both say he's the GOAT.
Oh man, you really are a typical Michael Jordan fan, man. Seriously. Now
those are my guys, and they call him the GOAT. So I don't know.
No, they don't. They don't call him the GOAT. You're cherry picking what you want to go by. There are videos where they do. Yes, I agree. But those aren't the only videos out there. There's other videos too, which are on my page. Magic Johnson has picked Michael Jordan as the number one NBA player of all time. You're right. That's true. He's also picked Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Larry Bird and LeBron James and George Gervin and Isaiah Thomas and himself and Wilt Chamberlain and probably more. Larry Bird has picked Michael Jordan. That's true. He's also picked Magic Johnson, Wilt Chamberlain, and himself. But you Michael Jordan fans always cherry pick whatever helps Michael Jordan, and you ignore things that go against Michael Jordan. And then for other stars, you always cherry pick things that hurt them, and you go with things, and you ignore things that help them. Hello?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm pretty fair. I'm pretty fair. And, I give people they do. And accomplishments at some point in time add to it. That's all I'm saying. I can't, as much as I hate to say, them 6 rings do mean something.
To you guys.
I mean, look, bro, that's why we play to win the game. I mean, who's the coach that said it? What's our boy? We play to win.
Right, we
play to win the game.
It's a team game. One guy doesn't play to win. I mean, he could try to play. I take that back. One guy does play to win, but he's not winning it by himself. He knows he can't win by himself. He knows it's a team that wins. If you want to go by what people say, most of the NBA Hall of Famers and owners and general managers and so on, they don't act like they know a team wins and a team loses. They don't act like one guy wins.
Put it like this. I give you an example. When the Yankees bought Babe Ruth, right? They all of a sudden started winning.
How many World Series do you think Babe Ruth won?
A lot.
No, it's not a lot. No.
More than 2?
To be honest with you, I don't know the exact number, but at the end of the day, he had lots of years he didn't win.
The point is, the Yankees weren't winning. All of a sudden, they got Babe Ruth. They started winning. They became the storied franchise. Like, to act like Babe Ruth is nothing is like, come on, bro, stop it. We know the history.
No one said Babe Ruth is nothing.
But I'll bring it a little more recent, right?
No, one guy doesn't win a baseball game by himself. One guy doesn't lose a baseball game by himself.
Babe Ruth was winning baseball games by himself.
No, yes, he was, man. No, he was not. You made
Babe
that
Ruth
up.
was hitting more home runs than teams were.
Yeah, that doesn't mean he's winning games by himself.
Babe, come on, man. Stop it, man. He's winning.
I'm sure you know baseball, but you definitely don't seem like an expert on baseball.
I said I didn't say I'm an expert on baseball. I might be a bigger expert on baseball than you. I don't know.
So far from what you showed me, I doubt you're a bigger expert on baseball than me.
Well, once again, if you're disputing what Babe Ruth did for the Yankees, you tripping.
I'm not. I'm not
Sometimes
disputing.
a
I'm
player can
not.
turn the tide, right? Remember when Deion Sanders
Every good player
switched
can help.
teams?
Every good player helps a team, but they're not winning by themselves. I'm not saying to you Babe Ruth wasn't good. I'm not saying he doesn't help his team. I'm not trying to disrespect him or anything like that. I'm making the point, man. One guy don't win and lose by himself.
So, I'm I mean, you're not necessarily right. You're just being very literal.
No, I'm
You're just
necessarily
being very
right.
literal.
I'm necessarily right, and I'm being literal, yeah, but it's not a bad thing. I'm going by.
You're just being too literal. You're just
No,
being a
no,
little
no,
too
no, no,
literal.
no, no,
That's all.
no, no.
Like,
You're going all over the map and whatever you want. I'm being literal, but it's not a bad thing. I'm saying one guy doesn't win by himself, and that's pretty much all there is to it for rings. It's simple. What's wrong with being literal on that? You want me to be vague?
no. I'm just
You
saying
want me to
that
be all over the map? You want me to be
that
like
at the end of
play
the
both
day,
sides or
all
what?
right. So for you, there's no debate on who's the best player because we should never talk about that.
Well, you could talk about it, but if you're asking
Because
me,
you don't believe, because it's a team game. So what's the point of even talking about that?
well, there's lots of reasons you could talk about it. But if you're asking me, is there a number one NBA player of all time? No, there's not.
Well, for sure, man. But we gotta come on, man. That's not an answer. We can't. That's not an answer. You gotta pick somebody. You know what I'm saying?
That is an answer. But here, how about this? How about this? No, that is an answer.
That's not an
No,
answer.
that is an answer. That is an answer. But how about this? If you think that
Because
there's
that's the right answer, man. We don't want the right answer.
okay, so if you think there is a number one NBA player of all time, or you want, whatever, you want the wrong answer, how about this?
We want to argue about something, bro.
Okay, if you want to, that's on you. But how about this?
Not argue. We want to just chit chat, spend some time,
Okay, so if you
enjoy our
want,
time.
huh?
Nothing. Go ahead.
No. So if you want to act like there is a number one NBA player of all time, it ain't Michael Jordan, and there's lots of players better than him.
See, that's where you getting. That's where you getting disrespectful. That's where you barely got. You said you. Man, bro.
Why is it okay?
You
to,
really
why,
said.
why is it okay?
You
to rank,
really said you
why,
might not even have him in the top 50.
Yeah, maybe not.
Ooh.
By the way, why is it okay to rank Michael Jordan so high?
Hold on.
But
This is the real topic.
why is it okay to have Michael Jordan ranked so high, but it's not okay to rank some other players so high? Why is it bad to leave Michael Jordan off the list? Like, why is it not okay to keep Michael Jordan away from being ranked so high, but it's not okay to do the same thing for lots of other players? You can tell me about rings again?
Because once again, you just didn't see the game.
You're just assuming things, making
If
things
you've
out.
seen the game, there's
Whether I
no way in
watch-
heck you leave him off your top 50. Let me find out. You got
if I
Reggie
didn't
Miller
watch
on
the-
your
if I
top
didn't-
50.
if I didn't
you don't
watch the
got
games, I can watch it on
Michael
YouTube.
Jordan.
and whether you think I watch the games or not doesn't mean I'm right or wrong. It doesn't mean you're right or wrong. If you
Bro,
make a claim, it'd be
I
up to
gotta
you to
hear
prove it.
50 guys. There's no way you got 50 guys above Jordan.
I never sat there and went through a long
There's
list.
no way you got 30.
If I name you 30 players better than him, then what?
That's impossible.
It's not impossible. That's silly to think it's impossible. That's silly.
If for you to name 30 guys better than Michael Jordan,
That's not hard
bro,
at all.
you'd have to be naming. You'd have to be naming like 20 guys from like the 50s and the 40s and stuff like that. There's no way you naming guys
even if I did that.
from 1970 on.
Even if I did that, that's not a bad thing. But I'll tell you what, I'm up for the challenge. If I name you 30 players from 1970 on, then what?
Brother, then what, brother? Hats off to you, my dude. What would you tell me what, bro?
You know what? I'll go by your criteria. So 30 guys, and they all got to be playing from 1970 and on. That's all it takes? That ain't no problem. All right, let's go. Let's do this. All right, here they are in no particular order. All right?
No particular order, brother.
All right. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, Shaq, Artis Gilmore, Nate Thurman, Let's see here. I'm forgetting some names.
You
Robert
better go in the Rolodex.
Robert Parrish. Let's see here.
Robert Parrish.
That's right. I'm going to shock you some more. It's going to get better. Karl Malone, John Stockton, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Pete Maravich. What number am I on so far? I think I'm on 16.
2. I think you on 2.
I'm on 16, right? 16, right? Okay.
I might give you credit for 4 then.
Let's see. Only 4? Are you serious, man?
Hold on. What number you up to? How many names did you name?
I think I'm on 16. I think I'm on number 17 coming up next. Let's see here. You don't know your NBA, bro. You have not studied the NBA. You want to talk about me not watching NBA games? You want to talk about me not watching NBA games? I can only imagine what you watch. You are stuck in the 1980s and stuck in the 1990s. Your whole time is about that time and those players. And by the way, you would make the media happy because all the media's takes, what they try to do to brainwash people.
Bro, you said Karl Malone and John Stockton.
That's right.
And we've seen him whoop them.
And by the way,
2 years in a row.
He never whooped them 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row.
Never happened. By the way, when the media brainwashes people, it's people like you who eat it up. You're the ones who get brainwashed. You believe everything the media tells you. I listen to your takes. You're right in line with the media's takes. Everything.
Bro, he whooped Karl Malone and John Stockton.
Never happened.
It's a fact that they're not better than him.
It's never happened. It's not a fact. This is what you believe. You believe these things in your head. Anyway, you want me to continue?
Did this not happen?
You want me to continue? No, it didn't happen. You want me to continue the list? I'm 17.
Keep 17. Keep going.
All right, let's see here. It's going to be a little hard now because I kind of didn't keep going. I wanted to keep going. When you go all the way through, it's easier, See, Isaiah Thomas, Charles Barkley. Let's see here. George Gervin, LeBron James. Let's see here. Anthony Davis.
Oh my God.
Jokic, Dirk Nowitzki, Tim Duncan. Let's see here. I think that's 25.
Oh my God.
So you don't know your NBA, man. You should be able to understand why.
My God,
Moses.
I hope you I hope you're not recording this, bro. Nobody better ever hear you say this, brother.
I'm recording this. Moses Malone, George Mikan, Dolph Schayes, Bob Pettit, and let's go with one more. We got one more. I'm on 29. One more. Hold on. So many guys to pick. So many guys.
He said so many guys
Who can I pick here? One more guy. Who's the last guy I'm going to pick? I don't even know who to pick here. There's so many, man. So many. Who am I going to narrow it down to? Let's see here. I want to give a good one just to surprise you. I'm going through the list here. So many. Hold on.
Oh my God. List. This dude act like he got a Rolodex of names.
There's so many players, man. So many players, man. You don't know your NBA, so you're not going to get this. Did I say Bill Russell? I think I did. I'm not sure. But anyway, there's 30. I think it's 30. 29 or 30. I don't have the exact number.
All right. I don't think you said.
By the way, just I don't know if it's exactly 30, but it's you got a lot of players. I don't get me wrong. I know I can name more players. I just don't know if I gave you exactly 30 or not.
Wow.
But anyway, why are you so shocked?
Wow, bro. Wow. I mean, man, bro. I don't know how to.
You know how I'm being
I can't top that, brother. I cannot top that, brother.
You know how I'm being consistent also? You know how I'm being consistent and you're not? Let's say someone told you Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the best and you didn't agree with them, but you would say, okay, I get that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't you apply the same logic to other players who are like Kareem? In other words, if you think Kareem is better because, okay, he's 7'2", he gets lots of points, he gets lots of rebounds, lots of block shots and all that, why couldn't you apply the same logic to Hakeem Olajuwon and Artis Gilmore and David Robinson and so on? It's like somebody
some of these things are just opinion, right? And like I said,
none of it's opinion.
We all have an opinion, but these guys played.
It's not opinion. I'm giving you facts.
These guys played.
What do you mean they played? Yeah, everyone played. So
no, these guys played against each other.
What does that?
So we know who's better.
What does that mean? They played against each other. We know who's better. What does that even mean? That's not a one-on-one game.
If Michael Jordan's team plays Charles Barkley's team in the finals, and Michael Jordan's team beats Charles Barkley's team in the finals,
right?
So when I say that Magic's the GOAT over Larry Bird, it's because they played in the finals 3 times. So it ain't about my opinion no more. It ain't even about my opinion. It's about that they played.
First of all, it's not an opinion; it's a claim. You're making. Who's better, Isaiah Thomas or Michael Jordan?
That's tough, man. That's tough.
No, Isaiah Thomas beat his team more than Michael Jordan beat his team.
And that's why I usually put Isaiah above, because at the end of the day, we can all have an opinion, but they actually played.
First of all, it's not an opinion. You're making a claim. Secondly, you're not being consistent. If you say they played against each other, Michael Jordan beat them, now apply the same logic to the other guy who beat Michael Jordan.
Bird is above Jordan.
Who's better, Shaq or Michael Jordan?
Man, stop it, man. Shaq ain't, man, cut it out.
Shaq beat Michael Jordan.
Huh?
Shaq beat Michael Jordan.
One game don't mean nothing.
Okay, so now what Larry Bird beat Michael Jordan, what, 2 series?
Yeah.
Okay, so
the only 2 times they played.
Shaq beat Michael Jordan 1 series.
In the playoffs.
Yes.
Okay, nice.
So Shaq is better, right?
Nah.
See, you're not being consistent. You're just going by whatever you want to go by, man. Like a typical Michael Jordan fan.
That was a nice try. That was a nice try.
That's a very good try. Yeah, you lost that one.
I like that. But was that, what year was that? When was this? What was going on? Was that the year that Jordan just came back, right? That was the year that Jordan just came back.
So when you make an excuse for why Michael Jordan lost, why don't you make some excuses for other people who lost?
I do.
No, you don't, because you rank
into the equation.
Anytime Michael Jordan beats somebody, you never say what the excuse is for the other guy.
No, that's the only time I actually give Mike a pass, a half a pass.
And why would you give him a pass? He wasn't rusty.
Half a pass.
You guys say he was half a pass. Why would you do that? You guys say he was rusty. He wasn't.
He only played 19 games.
And he's so good. How many games he needs?
And he didn't play the year before.
And?
So dudes are rusty.
Okay, so
that's just facts.
I could say it's not facts; it's your beliefs. You are again going by your beliefs and acting like they're facts.
No, bro, because you're trying to tell me guys don't need to get in sync with their teammates.
How many games does if a guy is the #1 NBA all-around player of all time and a top 3 or top 5 NBA player of all time, how many games does he need?
Look, bro, you're talking about playing the best of the best now. At the end of the day, these guys have been together for 82 games. How
many games does he need?
These guys were together for 82 games. They are in sync. They are a well-oiled machine. He was not that yet.
So how did they win so many games?
Oh, the Bulls? No, that was a good team.
Okay, so obviously they're a good team. They played together before too, by the way.
But I know, but you still got to get in sync, bro.
How many? You keep saying. I know.
Well, because you're just taking things for granted. It's not easy, man.
I notice you say a lot of things like it's fact, like, hey, this and that and this and that, but you never prove how you're right. You say
I'm not saying anything wild by saying that it takes time for teams to gel.
I didn't say you're wild for saying it takes time. I'm asking you, when you say 19 games is not enough, and you ignore that they won a lot of games, and you ignore his statistics that show he wasn't that rusty. He wasn't rusty.
Hold on, they won a lot of games. If he came in for 19 games, and if they won a lot of games, that means they won a lot of games without him.
And
then they had to readjust.
Actually, if I recall correctly, I don't have their exact record. I think they were okay. They had like 40-some wins or something.
No, they weren't doing that good actually when he came back.
Okay, so there you go. Okay, so then when he came back, they were doing very good.
No, the first year that he was gone, they won 50-something games without him, and they did
2
good.
less games.
And then actually the next year, I think Phil said not to come back, to let the team keep going and then just come back next year because you're going to ruin the chemistry.
And obviously they won lots of games.
No, and he came and ruined the chemistry and they lost to Shaq. But then the next year they came back and won.
Wait. What do you mean he ruined the chemistry? They won lots of games. What are you talking about? You're just making things up again.
No, I'm not.
You
if
are.
you're doing your history check, you'll find out that Phil told Mike not to come back.
I'm not talking about that. When you say he's
So if Phil told him not to come back, that he's going to ruin the team
you're not getting
chemistry.
what I'm saying, man.
That's Phil talking. That ain't me.
Okay, Phil Jackson also said Bill Russell is the #1 NBA player of all time. That's Phil talking. That ain't me.
Phil is coaching that team, and he's saying he told the guy
Did
to
you hear
not
what I
come
said?
back
Did you
because he
hear
didn't
what I
want to ruin the
said?
team
Did you hear what I
chemistry.
said?
What else you want me to say, bro?
Phil Jackson said Bill Russell is the #1 NBA player of all time. What else do you want me to say, bro?
All right.
Oh, do you accept what he said?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, you don't. You're the one who says Bill Russell, the time they played, guys from the 60s, all that.
What I also said was that if you want to mention guys from before the time that I was playing, I can respect that. But if you're talking about from the time that I've been watching, and I'm telling you that there's 2 guys better than him from the time that I've been watching, then we can have a debate.
I don't understand.
But if you're going to tell me that Bill Russell's better than him, all right, what can I say? You've seen his dominance, you've seen whatever.
You're playing both sides of the fence. All this phone call.
Bro.
All this
when
phone
we talk about gold conversation, I never bring up the past like that far back.
I know you don't. And Phil Jackson does. And there's a contradiction.
Okay, and I said I can respect it.
Okay, but that's not, look, in this whole phone call, it's been, they weren't as skilled, they had less teams, you laughed at me for a lot of the players I picked and who played in the past and all that. Now, when I bring up Phil Jackson, you're like, okay, I respect it.
Hold on. The guys that I laughed at were Karl Malone, John Stockton, David Robinson, guys who played with Michael Jordan that he whooped.
I also talked about like other guys like Nate Thurman or George Mikan, Dolph Shiz, all that. You were laughing at these guys.
I didn't say nothing.
Or if you weren't
laughing. I was definitely laughing because you was running off a lot of names, bro. For sure. I was definitely chuckling. No doubt about it.
There's more. Even if you weren't laughing, you also disagreed.
And I was.
You also disagreed, and you've let it be known more than once how you feel about the past NBA. You know your negative takes and how you don't count them. Now all of a sudden, when I bring up
for sure, I don't count them. Right, and I'm going to stand on that. If you want to put them in there,
I get you, dude. You gotta
I will let that go.
You gotta let me finish,
but man. For the most part,
you gotta let me finish.
For argument's sake, we don't need to bring those guys up.
But now when I bring up Phil Jackson, you're like, okay, I accept it.
No, I don't want to bring those guys up, but if you want to bring those guys up, fine.
Okay. Well, anyway,
but I wouldn't bring them up.
Okay. Well, it's not fine with you. You play both sides of the fence. Whenever it helps you, you go with it. When it goes against you, you don't go with it.
67 around there's the cutoff line.
Right, anyway, well, then you can't have it both ways. Either Phil Jackson's right or he's wrong. Do you go by Phil Jackson or don't you?
No, I didn't say he's right. I just said, okay,
Remember
whatever. That's
when
what
you
he said.
talked about what Phil Jackson said to Michael Jordan about chemistry? You acted like what he said was right. So if you're going to go by what he says, you got to be fair and consistent and go by everything.
Hey, look, man. Are you trying to tell me that the coach saying that a player shouldn't come back for team chemistry, that don't mean nothing to you?
It means something to me.
Okay, then. That's all.
Okay, and are you saying to me that when Michael Jordan came back and they did really well, that means they had bad chemistry?
They didn't do really well. They got knocked out the playoffs.
Let me give you some facts of what they did. They never lost more than 2 games in a row with Michael Jordan. 2 times they had 6-game winning streaks. 6-game winning streaks. He had
in 19 games.
In 19 games, yes. They won more games than they lost. He had the 55-point nickel game. He had a bunch of other games where he scored lots of points. They were saying things like he's back. He's as good as he's ever been. He's still the best player in the NBA. He's still the #1 NBA player of all time. They made the playoffs. They won in the first round against the Charlotte Hornets. They won easy. In the second round against the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, that was my team, Charlotte.
All right. In the second round against the Orlando Magic, they won 2 games. It's not like they got swept. And here's Michael Jordan's numbers for you. 32 points a game in his scoring. His field goal percentage, I think, was 48 or 49%, right along with his career.
Not bad.
His three-point percentage, 50% from threes. And all his other numbers were right in line. Now tell me, where's the rustiness?
Are you trying to tell me that the following year, You can't see the difference?
Unbelievable. Man, you just can't admit when you're wrong sometimes, man. It's just unbelievable.
Nah, bro. Because you're going to act
It's
like
ridiculous.
the next year when he had a full season that they were not dominant.
Oh, yeah, they were dominant.
Yeah,
The team,
chemistry.
they had a
Yeah,
better
team.
team. They had a better team.
They were playing better team ball.
All right, let me ask you this. I'm gonna get you on this, although you won't admit it. If it's straight up he was rusty and he had bad chemistry, right? He needed more time and all that. Why make any changes to the team? Why not just keep the same team and let Michael Jordan take over the next year?
I mean, look, you can always improve wherever you can,
So there you go. Why would you have to improve? It's Michael Jordan. Just give him some time.
Look, man,
let him get.
because at the end of the day, if you got a scrub on your team, why are you going to pay a scrub? That's money.
I thought no. Michael Jordan didn't
That's
have
money.
Michael Jordan was rusty. He didn't have enough time. He needs more time to have more chemistry with his team and all that. So just next year, everything will be fine.
That doesn't mean that you don't. Two things can still be right, though. Just because doesn't mean that they didn't need to get rid of some players.
Okay, but we're not talking about like the 13th best player, 14th best player, 11th best player, and all that. We're talking about major additions.
Look, man, you're gonna improve whenever you can. When somebody's available, you do what you can to improve.
You're playing both sides of the fence again.
I mean, look, it is what it is sometimes. What you want me to say?
Okay, it is what it is. In Michael Jordan's numbers and the Chicago Bulls numbers, it is what it is. They did really well together. They weren't rusty. They didn't have bad chemistry. They knew how to win and all that. Did you ever stop and think, man, that maybe the Chicago Bulls lost because they got beat by a better team?
They were a better team because Michael Jordan only played 19 games.
Unbelievable, man. Just go to circle, man. Unbelievable.
Hey, man, look, man, this was fun, man. My phone is about to die. I've been trying to charge it up. That's why I think every once in a while I gotta put it on speakerphone. But man, we gotta do this again, brother. I had a great time, man.
All right, I'm glad you had a great time. Thanks for coming on. Yeah, we can do this again in the future if you like.
Oh, brother, I had so much fun, man. Thanks for bringing old West Coastin' on. I had a lot of fun, man.
Oh, thanks.
Stop being hard on Mike, man. Give him some credit, man. 50 players, man. Your fans are going to eat you up.
I'm not.
I'll tell you that right now. They're going to eat you up over this footage right here, brother.
Too much credit. And the only people who are going to agree with you are some of the other Michael Jordan fans. And at the end of the day, man, you didn't prove that you were right on anything that you disagree on.
Bro, you got 50 guys ahead of Jordan. Let's just end on that. Can we end on that? You got 50 guys.
No, let's end on this.
Ahead of Michael Jordan.
Bro, you have Michael Jordan as the number one all-around NBA player of all time. And bro, you have Michael Jordan as a top 3 or top 5 NBA player of all time.
Respect. That's respect.
Hey, please subscribe. And if you disagree with me on something, you can go on my program and show me your facts on whatever you disagree on. If you want to go on, let's set it up. Send me an email. The email is right there in the description section. Thank you.